Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake
and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes, amazing! We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 149 and we're your hosts Matt
And Jake.
here to talk to you guys about all the happenings of Matchday 12 in Serie A.
A mental match day of football with so many goals that we have. I don't think we've ever had this many honorable mentions for goal of the week ever in 149 episodes.
13 honorable mentions, one goal of the week. I think it had to be this one though. I think we conceded immediately. We said due to the stage, due to everything, this is the goal of the week.
Yes, and it was in fact Çalhanoğlu's strike against Napoli, an absolute thunderbolt of a shot. Do you think that Meret was soft?
If you were to single this instance out, I would say you're being harsh. But he had the same thing last week where I forgot exactly who scored a worldie past him. And you said that it was a bit of a blunder by Meret. I said it was harsh. Now this weekend we saw again soft goalkeeping by Meret. I think if you were to look at it, sure, it's powerful. Yes, it's tipping and swerving. It's complicated. But he could have kept it out. It was nowhere near the corner.
He needed a stronger hand, but let's take nothing away, of course, as you said, from Çalhanoğlu's strike, which was rising and dipping violently and ferociously. Yes, an absolute rocket, and we know he can hit them. Yeah. Honorable mention, so there was Pellegri's goal against Lecce, which hit the back of the net really sweetly as well. It dinked upwards afterwards. Yeah. Nicolosi against Parma with a volley on a Thursday night. Valeri against Venezia in the same game from way out. Goalkeeper maybe a bit suspect there as well.
Yeah.
Both Leao goals against Cagliari, mostly because of the assist, but take nothing away from the finish, because Leao, one of them, he dinked the keeper, he dinked it over the keeper, and the other one, he rounded the keeper. Tijani Reinders with an incredible assist on the first one, and Fofana with a cross-field through ball in the second one.
Great midfielders.
Yeah, and then of course it was the sixth goal in the Milan-Cagliari game, or rather Cagliari-Milan game, where Zappa scored the goal of his life. An amazing volley, which was just sensational. I think that would be the second best goal of the lot.
Right, and we didn't even include Zortea's goal, which was a banger.
Kamara against Atalanta had a great goal and a really cold celebration. Serdar against Fiorentina for his first ever Serie A goal. Another banger from out of the box, you know. Yeah. Keane's second and third goals against Verona were very good as well. One of them was like a Zlatan-esque finish on a corner, and the other one, he destroyed Belayan and rounded the goalkeeper to tap it in.
So cool.
El Shaarawy's second goal against Bologna was also incredible, you know, fantastic finish, very powerful, kind of like right between the post and the net. Yeah. Love that finish.
Unstoppable.
And then there was, of course, Zaccagni against Monza, who channeled his inner Alessandro Del Piero on the weekend of his 50th birthday.
Exactly. No, I don't. We weren't bored this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Many bangers. 2 sackings as well. We've seen Gotti let go by Lecce after their loss to Empoli. Was it a loss to Empoli?
It was a draw.
It was a draw to
1-1
Empoli.
draw.
A 1-1 draw. And we've also finally seen Juric sacked by Roma. We will get into further information regarding that, but Lecce have appointed Giampaolo and Roma have appointed Tinkerman Ranieri, a Romanista. So they must be content, at least, that it's one of their own that's taking over, someone who has represented the club before.
We have a lot to say about these two managers, so please do stay tuned for more information and insight on these managers.
Fantasy update?
Yes.
A little update regarding our fantasy. And it's actually Joey D who has taken the lead now with his team. Puff, puff, puff. Paz.
Yes.
By far the best name. It's quite new, eh? He must
have changed it at some point, but I didn't realize. Puff Puff Paz is amazing, dude. So he's first at the moment, 19 points, ahead of second place Loco for the Choco, while Pieter has fallen to third. Huh?
Oh no, Pieter. No.
Yeah, don't give up.
No.
You can do this.
Chin up. We also have the international break coming up, so there's no football this weekend. Tomorrow there is Italy, Belgium, and like France, Israel, and stuff like that. And enjoy if you're into that. The Nations League, very
Liechtenstein,
cool.
Malta.
Liechtenstein, Malta next Tuesday. See you guys at the Ali.
No, Liechtenstein. No, Malta. Liechtenstein's tomorrow on a Thursday.
Malta
and then,
Andorra.
Exactly.
Is on Tuesday. Come on, you boys in red.
Remember, guys, to like, follow, and rate us wherever you're listening. We would really appreciate it if you would hop onto YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, a comment, watch us over there. It's great. And we would also appreciate it if you like our content, do become a patron. We have a fantastic community on our WhatsApp group chat. It's always popping. We've been posting screenshots from our chat on our Instagram stories because they're too funny.
Yeah.
They're great.
I mean, these are the same people that name their teams Puff Puff Paz.
Yeah.
So you know it's going to be a good time.
All the money is reinvested into the podcast. Of course, it helps to make our content more quality. If you look behind us right now, we have new posters, new frames. These can be picked up. Just reach out to us on Instagram and we'll arrange something. Very colorful, non-reflective. I'm pretty happy with them.
Yeah, to be honest, I hope you guys notice that it's non-reflective now.
Yeah.
If you guys hear anything in the background, it's because we have a cat in the studio nowadays.
Yes,
his name is Freddy.
Yes, he's isolated in the studio and he's currently taking a shit.
And staring directly at us.
So fantastic. If you hear that sound, we apologize. That is his litter. Hopefully he comes on the table at some point so we can show him off.
Exactly. This week in Serie A?
This week in Serie A. So 2 points actually separate first from sixth in Serie A as it stands. Things are getting very exciting. Çalhanoğlu has missed his first penalty for Inter after 19 successful ones. So it seemed like the 20th one was the one set up to fail. And it's like... Recently, people have been talking about his penalty conversion rate more than ever.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's been jinxed.
And it's almost like he looked nervous stepping into this one because he's like, oh no, it's the 20th.
Yeah. He was like, I knew it would happen at one point. I was just hoping it wouldn't happen today. That is what he said. Serdar, Carlson and Pierotti scored their first ever Serie A goals. While Roma have sacked Juric for Ranieri, who is set to become caretaker manager before joining the board. And up to 24 hours after Juric's sacking, no players posted anything on social media. I don't know if that was an order or if it speaks volumes of the relationship he had with the players.
Yeah.
Lecce have sacked Gotti for Giampaolo. The return of Giampaolo. Milan fans will know him well from his very short stint at Milan. Calcio OGs will remember Giampaolo from his time at Sampdoria when he had Ramirez playing trequartista with Quagliarella, who finished top scorer that season ahead of Ronaldo, who was partnered by Caprari and Defrel back in the day. It was a wicked team, that Sampdoria team. They had just let go of Duvan Zapata.
Take nothing away from Giampaolo. I feel he took too big a step. It was a weird appointment by Milan. Too big a step too quick. I think he could do something for Lecce. Will he turn their season around? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he could be a fit. Why not?
We'll get into it. There are pros and there are cons. We'll get into that. It's probably the last game we'll be discussing. So don't worry. We've got timestamps now. Actually, you can just hop over to the Lecce game if you want to know. Genoa opted for WWE superstar The Undertaker to model the launch of their third kit.
Legends, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're trying to hit the 50-year-old demographic, they're doing a fantastic job. But Genoa they're receiving a bit of attention, even with Tsitsipas coming out as a Genoa fan, very brave. And now The Undertaker, So they're hitting the mainstream.
Yeah, their marketing.
Signing Balotelli, of course.
Their marketing has been super, definitely. Lautaro Martinez responded to a fan on Instagram. This fan commented saying, "Remember, the club pays you good money." To which Lautaro Martinez went and typed, "You should also remember, that I've always given my all for Inter, like in the World Cup season. My ankle was destroyed, and while others prepared for a great World Cup, I was always on the pitch and never missed a training session. I played all the games until the Champions League final. Always remember it before mentioning who pays me. Roasted.
I mean, roasted,
He hasn't stopped, he's right.
He hasn't stopped. I don't recommend that players look at social media comments and, answer back to fans.
But it is nice to see. It's always so much fun.
It's good
to
see.
Hit that translate button.
It's satisfying to see keyboard warriors get destroyed by a professional football player. Right? There are so many comments at the moment about Lautaro being overweight and about Lautaro looking double his age on the pitch. And he had a great season last season. I get the fans that are frustrated with his performances this season because he has been super weak and he looks out of sorts. But that's really not the reaction I'd like to see. Like if Leao did that, for example, I'd be upset with him. I'd expect him to be more professional.
I don't think he's being arrogant or unprofessional, though. He's simply being assertive, I think, because he has always prioritized Inter. And while there were other people who, like Pogba, for example, let's use Pogba as an example, who didn't do the surgery that was needed in order to represent his country in an international competition, sacrificing his Juve career, essentially. Lautaro didn't do that at all. He prioritized Inter the whole way through.
No, it's true, and what he's saying is true. I just don't think he should be commenting. Like if someone tells him, "Well done, you won the World Cup, you did this and that," is he gonna reply, "Thank you"?
Yeah.
So if they give you shit, then don't write a whole paragraph back at them trying to justify what you're doing.
Hundreds of people are commenting saying, "We love you," like
exactly.
Reply to those.
Fair enough. No, he's showing where his head is at the moment, which is in a negative place, and you'd hope not to see that from football, and I wouldn't recommend it genuinely for a footballer's mental health and shit like that. Don't go through the comments, man. They're shit.
Yeah, absolutely. In other news, Ronaldinho is in Malta for the Sigma conference. Nice to see him on that Sigma grind set for real skibbity. Next thing you know, he'll be risen up Gats in Ohio, right?
Ambrosini's here now as
Ambrosini's here too.
Ambrosini's here. Some other dude.
They brought the rain with them.
They did. They really did.
But I think we can get cracking with the games, bro.
Let's get into the rundown. So the order in which we're going to be covering the games is, we'll start things off obviously with Inter 1, Napoli 1. I mean the current champions against the current league leaders. Brilliant goal by Hakan Çalhanoğlu to cancel out Scott McTominay's early goal. However, Inter had more opportunities in the second half, but unfortunately Hakan did miss his first penalty, as you mentioned earlier. Then we'll go to Cagliari 3, Milan 3, which is probably the second best game I've seen in Serie A this season, behind the Juve Inter one. 3-3, just an absolute shootout. Weak defenses, fire attacks. It's, from the neutral perspective, amazing. For Cagliari fans, amazing. The only people that didn't enjoy this were, in fact, Milan fans. Roma 2, Bologna 3, the straw that broke Juric's back. The Friedkins have let him go. Huge news as they've opted for Ranieri, who's coming out of retirement after he supposedly retired after saving Cagliari from relegation last season, but he's back with a point to prove until the end of the season as caretaker manager. Good to see Bologna get all these goals. They've been struggling for goals. Italiano's men. Orsolini's on fire, Castro is on fire, Carlson is off the mark. Good performance overall for Bologna despite the shambles that Roma are in. The Derby della Mole, aka the snooze fest, aka the most boring derby in Europe. Bro, Floriana Valletta is more exciting than the Derby della Mole. Juve 2, Torino 0. Juve just steals 6 points from their supposed rivals every season. Good performance though from Juve, particularly Cambiaso and Yildiz, who blow my mind pretty much every other game.
They totally neutralized Torino. Torino, I don't think, had a shot on target till the 80-something minute.
Literally, bro.
The first one, and it was the weakest shot that the keeper just scooped and caught, like a baby.
Yeah. Atalanta 2, Udinese 1. Udinese actually led this game after a brilliant Kamara goal in the first half from miles out. Tiax was given space to shoot because Zappacosta was limping on the pitch. You'd never get a shot away from that distance, from that side when Zappacosta's on the pitch. He was, however, replaced by Bellanova, who put in a masterclass, assisting a goal and forcing an own goal for Atalanta to win 2-1 and extend their winning streak to 6. Fiorentina 3, Verona 1. Fiorentina again showing us class, showing us great attacking football, and Moise Kean scoring a hat-trick over here. He's in the form of his life. We've never seen Moise Kean this good.
I've never seen him dance so much in my life.
Hey, man, for the last time I took his shirt off, he's like, I'm the fucking man. And you know what, Moise? You are the man, and you have to be getting minutes in the Nations League. Because from what I saw, apparently up top it's Retegui alongside Frattesi. Try Moise Kean and Retegui.
He said, Spalletti said that they could play together.
Nice. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Monza 0, Lazio 1. Another win for Baroni's men, who at this point I can't remember the last time they dropped points, man. Was it the draw to Milan on like match day 2 or 3? I genuinely can't remember. Lazio are looking so strong. They topped their group in the Europa League. Pedro scored another last-minute winner in that Europa League match. Monza, on the other hand, still same thing. Looking good, playing nice football, not winning games, not scoring goals, and actually losing games. It's not that they're not winning, but they are losing.
Yeah.
Venezia 1, Parma 2. A relegation battle, ? Venezia actually started strong. Venezia looking like a much improved side. However, Parma found a winner through Boni, I believe it was.
Yes.
A good win, a very well needed win for Parma over there to relieve some pressure. This was a must win for them after a really negative spell. Genoa 1, Como 1, a last-minute equalizer from Genoa, from Pinamonti to equalize, and Como now haven't won a game in around 6 matches, if I'm not mistaken, and Lecce 1, Empoli 1, the straw that broke Gotti's back, and now Gianpaolo is taking over for Lecce. Great week. What a week before the international break, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. A fantastic week of football in terms of goals, in terms of results, in terms of the table, in terms of entertainment, everything, man.
Yeah.
Tight affairs all round.
The table is mental. Before we start talking about Inter 1, Napoli 1, let's give a bit of a rundown, because I know it's hitting the mainstream as well, that Serie A is easily the tightest league in the world. And it's actually... no, you mentioned it actually. It's 6 points...
2 points from between first and sixth.
That's crazy. We've got Napoli in first, Atalanta in second, level on points with Fiorentina, Inter and Lazio, and then 1 point behind them is Juve. Then after that it's Milan on 18 and Bologna on 18, both with a game in hand.
Yeah.
But let's place that Serie A spotlight on Inter 1, Napoli 1. As I mentioned, it is the league champions against the current league leaders. Just 1 point separated them heading into this showdown, and it remains that way after this match. Atalanta, Lazio and Fiorentina have closed in on Inter in second place after this weekend's results. For the hosts, only Carlos Augusto was still unavailable, and they rotated their squad after a midweek Champions League win over Arsenal, with Acerbi making his first start since the 20th of October. Lobotka returned to the bench after a month out for Napoli, but Gilmour retained his starting spot as Conte and Lukaku lined up to face their former club. It was a massive factor in this game, in case you forgot. It was a 3-5-2 for Inzaghi's men with Sommer in goal and a backline of Bastoni, Acerbi and Pavard. It was Di Marco out on the left and Dumfries out on the right, with a midfield trio of Mkhitaryan, Çalhanoğlu and Barella, with Thuram and Lautaro starting up front together. 4-3-3 for Conte's men with Meret in goal and a backline of Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Buongiorno and Oliveira, a midfield trio of Anguissa, Gilmour and McTominay, with Politano and Gvara flanking Romelu Lukaku. There were some early chances in this game as Gvara tested Sommer early, while Barella came close at the other end with a first-time effort that drifted just wide. Napoli opened the scoring from a well-executed corner routine as Rahmani flicked the ball at the near post and McTominay pounced to tap in from close range, putting Napoli ahead. Inter managed to draw level just before half-time. It was Çalhanoğlu with a spectacular long-range strike that Meret couldn't keep out, levelling the score at 1-1. Inter came back energised in the second half, pushing for a lead. Di Marco struck the post at the 52-minute mark, and Çalhanoğlu had the chance to put Inter ahead from the penalty spot after Anguissa fouled, in inverted commas, Dumfries in the box. However, Çalhanoğlu's shot hit the upright, ending his perfect penalty streak in Serie A, and the game ended 1-1. I'm just going to jump straight to the inverted commas, because I did the inverted commas. Conte was furious after the game, saying that it wasn't a penalty on Çalhanoğlu. It wasn't a penalty on... it was Anguissa that fouled.
Who was it again? You've got it there.
Yeah, I've got it.
Dumfries.
Yeah. What do you think?
So I didn't think that this was obviously not a penalty. And that's probably why VAR didn't intervene.
But there is a rule from VAR that states if there was contact and the referee pointed it out, said it's significant enough to be a penalty, then if he checks VAR and there's still the contact, basically, then the penalty still stands.
Yeah.
But to me, the contact wasn't significant at all.
But there was an elbow as well. There was when the contact was made, Dumfries kind of got an elbow to the neck kind of area.
Very soft.
Soft. It's definitely a soft one, but I don't think Conte's rage was like totally. It was dramatic, right? He made a fuss about it basically, because at the end of the day, it's not a massive mistake, you know. The referee was right there. He had a clear view of it. He saw it. He gave it. VAR took a look. There was no obvious error on the referee's part, so he didn't ask the referee to take a second look. It's soft, but we've seen many soft penalties this season.
I think it's ridiculous that if you touch a player in the box, then it's immediately a penalty. The contact was super soft. It wasn't significant, and I think it's really, really soft to the point that it's really, really harsh on the defender. If I was a defender, I wouldn't make a single challenge. I'd just back up like Romagnoli.
You're starting to see it in Serie A. Defenders are just putting their hands up as the striker dribbles them.
Literally.
I've seen that so many times this weekend. Yeah. Again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the penalty decision. For me, at first, when he whistled, I was like, really? Like, that's a penalty, like... And then I saw the replay and I was like, okay, there was a bit of contact, you know, and the referee had a good view of it. So kind of it didn't bother me too much.
I guess. To me, incredibly soft. But it was a tactical showdown, this game, between the champions and the league leaders, and Inzaghi and Conte, who faced his former team. And he did set up in a way primarily to disrupt Inter, right? The man marking on Lautaro and Di Marco were their two, you could say, most dangerous outlets. The midfield press and the cutting off of passing lanes, particularly from Gilmour and Anguissa that we saw. The compact defense to shut down Di Marco and Dumfries' threat, so the wingers essentially had nowhere to play the ball. And they did attempt to counter through Kvaratskhelia, but Inter were also game, right? They were mindful of the counter-attack on Kvaratskhelia. And one thing that we particularly saw in this game, if I had to highlight two players in this game from opposing teams, it's Acerbi and Buongiorno, because they both did an excellent job at neutralizing the attack. You had Acerbi that didn't let Lukaku do anything, and Acerbi is way stronger than Pavlovic, because Lukaku bodied Pavlovic with some light contact. Acerbi was almost out-muscling Lukaku in this game. He was unbelievable. And Buongiorno, on the other hand, dealing with all those avenues of Inter's attack with Thuram, with Lautaro, he just did an excellent job. He was so clean. He made one small mistake early on, but man, he bounced back, and this was his best performance yet in a Napoli shirt.
Absolutely. And Billy Costa Curta compared him to Chiellini. He said he's the heir to Chiellini, so it's high praise. And he was a monster this game, Buongiorno. And it's subtle the way he imposes himself. He's not like a physically dominant player to the point that it sticks out and it's obvious to the spectator on TV. But when you watch him properly and closely, you realize that this guy is. He has no boundaries, bro. He gets all up in your personal space. He's very, very good. Old school defensive player.
The player Napoli needed, because they struggled with their centre back so much last season when they had Juan Jesus and Rahmani. It's a completely different story now. And I also want to highlight
up Torino, by the way, who produced Bremer and Buongiorno.
Literally,
crazy.
I also want to shout out Di Lorenzo, had a great performance keeping Di Marco at bay. Because I criticized him last week. I said, just because this guy scored 3 goals, it doesn't mean that he's having an excellent season defensively, because he's really easy to dribble. But he wasn't easy to dribble at all in this game. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
Despite the great defenders, we have misfiring strikers. And those misfiring strikers let's mention the first one, Lukaku. Lukaku, who is very on and off. His last on game was the one against Milan, where he demolished a Milan defense that Zappa demolished.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. But Lukaku, over the past few games, since that Milan game, just hasn't quite looked himself. Now, hasn't quite looked himself in the sense that his hold-up play is still obviously very strong. But everything else, even the way he's misplacing his passes and the way he is front-facing goal, he's been struggling quite a bit.
I think that it's simply because Napoli have this lead that they have at the top, right? It's a slender lead. But it was more significant at the time when Napoli played Milan, right? So after that, they took on Atalanta, and then they took on Inter. 2 tight games, 2 Scudetto, first place games, essentially, as it stands right now. I think the priority in these games was to not drop points and to keep things as kind of pragmatic and safe as possible. And Lukaku's main responsibility was to attempt to hold the ball up and to knock the ball down or lay it off to a teammate. He didn't really have much room to turn at any point, and it was super crowded. And in the Atalanta game, for example, he was pressed immediately, and all the channels were cut immediately when he got the ball. So it was always going to be a mismatch for him. This game as well against Inter, it was man for man the whole game as well. It was a tough one, for them, especially with Lobotka injured. I feel like, or at the moment he's on the bench, he's recovering. I think Lobotka is a very important piece for Lukaku's success, because he can really make himself available for Lukaku to kind of drop the ball to and move to find space himself or to advance. In this game, you look at Napoli, they were pinned back in the first half. In the second half, they had a bit of a lease of life, and then at the end, they almost managed with Simeone. They played him through and he skied it. But I think, for example, now next game, Napoli play Roma. That's got a Lukaku goal written all over it.
It does have a Lukaku goal written all over it.
And then they play Torino, they play Lazio twice after that, Udinese. So there's a tough spell. This is his tough spell, Lukaku, to score. But then afterwards, Genoa, Venezia, Verona, those games, I feel like Lukaku is unplayable.
Yeah, it's just disappointing though, because it's fair enough to say he's unplayable against the shit teams, the teams that are struggling, but also he's playing once a week. And I'd hope to see him a bit fitter when he's playing once a week. Like, we're talking about Lautaro, who struggles because he hasn't stopped. Inter just played Arsenal midweek before this game. Napoli had a week off. And Lukaku looked exhausted throughout the game. It's not just that he wasn't winning his duels, but he looked out of place. Every duel, he almost didn't even enter it at 100%. Every loose ball, he doesn't run into it. It is the shortcomings that you would expect to see with Lukaku. And I think there's only so much Conte can do to get the best out of Lukaku. I think he's a striker that can hold up play well and involve other players into the game, which is great for players like Kvara and Politano. But when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. When he's off form, he's awful.
Because he's a one-trick pony nowadays. Before, he used to have his turn of pace and his ability to kind of charge. And once he gained momentum charging, there was no stopping Lukaku. That was a massive part of his game when Inter won the league.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't really have that anymore, or Conte's system doesn't allow him to show it off. But from what we've seen, as you said, he looks a little bit lethargic.
Yeah.
So I don't think he still has that in his game. However, at the end of the day, he started 9 games. He's got 4 goals and he's got 4 assists. So whatever he's doing, it's working. It doesn't work every game, and when it doesn't work, he looks sluggish, he looks clumsy, he looks clunky.
Yeah.
But he's still very effective. That's the thing.
No, he still fits the system, and he still one of the centerpieces to the system.
Absolutely.
He's essential for the Conte system. He's the guy that Conte wants.
Yes.
Just it's disappointing to see him so fatigued and pretty much out of shape, in my opinion.
It's a theme, huh?
Yeah, when he's playing once a week,
Yeah.
which probably means he's eating ice creams.
But
for the rest of the
Buongiorno and Acerbi are two of the best in the league, right?
You mean Acerbi and Bastoni?
No, Buongiorno because of the... Sorry, not Buongiorno. I'm talking about Hien, because Hien utilized them in the Atalanta game.
Yes, absolutely.
They're two of the best man markers in the league. You know, especially with Bremer injured, they're probably top 3 those guys when it comes to man marking defenders. So Lukaku was always going to have a tough time.
Fair enough. Lautaro's completely off form.
Yes,
hence
true.
Hence the comment from that fan. And Thuram, I'm sorry, super greedy, and I've waited to say it. I've waited to call him super greedy. I've passed comments saying, Thuram had a moment where he could have played through his teammate. Thuram got a bit greedy over there. Wow, Thuram should really start passing. Well, Thuram is being greedy.
He is. I think the fact that he had a great start to the season may have actually got to him.
Probably.
Because to not pass to Lautaro when his job essentially is to set him up, you know, or you've got Barella wide open and you decide to shoot into the defender or to try to dribble the defender. Now we've seen too many instances like this, and I feel like right now Thuram has a bit. He can get away with it because of Lautaro's form, and if anyone's going to be benched for now for Taremi, for example, it's probably going to be Lautaro, which is a shame because Thuram's putting his team at risk. The Venezia game, for example, he almost cost them that with his greedy antics.
Inter, they're clockwork. They can't have someone disrupting that because he wants to have a crack at goal from distance, or he runs up the pace and he's in space. He's got options all around. He's waiting because he doesn't know what to do when someone nicks the ball off him because he's teeing up a shot.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just a bit of a theme that we've been seeing at the moment with Thuram, and you just know Inzaghi would hate that, bro. He would despise it because it's the last thing you need for a player alongside Lautaro.
Absolutely. In fact, he took him out before he took out Lautaro this game. He took out Thuram in the 82nd for Taremi, and then the 89th took out Lautaro for Arnautovic.
And Taremi should be getting some more minutes.
I think we really haven't seen him yet.
You see him starting in the Champions League and stuff like that, but I'd like to see some more of him. He doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
Çalhanoğlu obviously had quite a mixed performance. He scored a superb goal, but then missed his first ever penalty in Serie A.
He was so rattled after he missed.
He was misplacing passes,
and he looked really frantic. And in fact, he had to take him out.
Even Kendrick said he's typically the cool head for Inter. After him is the penalty. He was the opposite of that. It happens, and the last thing you'd want for Çalhanoğlu is for him to beat himself up and let this destroy him. Because it's a penalty at the end of the day. The guy has transformed into a superb regista. A superb the same play style I would say that Rodri has in that sense. Just hard working central defensive midfielder, great at the ball with his feet, great passing, great from set pieces, great shot on him, fantastic shot on him. And just because he missed a penalty, I don't think it's
No.
It should affect his confidence too much.
Especially considering the goal he scored before that.
Exactly.
And he had the post. It wasn't even a terrible penalty, you know? It was a decent penalty. He was just unlucky.
Yeah. The criticism for Meret, naturally. Unfortunately for Meret, he didn't save the penalty. It hit the post. But again, we just saw slightly soft goalkeeping from him, just to address that once more throughout my talking points.
I think when it comes to the teams in the top... Let's say the top 6 of Serie A right now, Meret is the weakest.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. I think, for example, both Juve's keepers are better.
Provedel as well.
Provedel
sometimes maybe
is
good.
Streaky, but his highs are high, Provedel. Maybe, it's between him and Provedel, to be honest. But Meret's been a little bit soft. As has Providence.
I can't believe he's being called up for the Nations League over Di Gregorio.
That's a joke, eh? I mean, that's simply because Spalletti knows him.
No, probably.
That's it.
And who cares about the third keeper? It's just like, let me bring my boy, man.
Let's bring him along.
It'll be fun.
Let's get him a medal.
You mentioned there was a late chance for Napoli through Simeone, and a bit of a theme, bro. You remember last season when Inter weren't conceding in the last 15 minutes of a match?
Yeah.
They really are this season. And what we saw over here is another, like, I don't know if it's a lapse of concentration or whatever it is, but Simeone could have really won Napoli the game over here. And they looked flat-footed in defense when that happened.
They did. And to be honest with you, Napoli bring in some interesting players in general. They introduce in the second half, they have that Neres. He's a really good tool. This game, it was Ngonj who came on. And he looked really lively, exposing that pocket where DiMarco advances from.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at the way Napoli lined up in that second half, the average player positions after the substitution, it's just compact midfield and defense, all in their own half, with Guevara on the line, and then the only two players advanced are Simeone and Ngonj for the counter, with Guevara running up for the late run in. I think that many teams nowadays have these kind of game plan, bro. This plan B for this late game plan, and you look at the fact that nowadays everyone has 5 substitutions. This is something that I think teams are learning to utilize more, and I think the season it's being better utilized than it was last season. It's almost like it's more than ever a game of 2 halves, because in the second half you can change half your team, literally half your team. So squad depth is more important than ever, and Inter's defense essentially has to deal with 2 waves of attacks. I know it was the same thing last year, but I'm just saying that nowadays it seems that teams have learned how to utilize this more.
I mean, it's a new rule.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so teams are going to get better and better at utilizing this as they get more used to it. Just one more point, and we can move on. Actually, one question: do you think there was any team in particular that deserved to win this game?
I think the draw is a fair result, to be honest. I think Inter edged it in the first half. I think Napoli edged it in this. Not even, to be honest.
No, I think Inter were better dominant in the second half. I think they were better than Napoli. But they really struggled to create chances.
They did. And to be honest, it's probably because Napoli set up so well defensively as well. So I would say that this was a well-deserved draw, and it was a predictable draw, to be honest.
Yeah. We should have put money on a 0 or a 1-1.
That's true.
Here.
That's true.
That's it from that game, bro.
Very nice. So we can move on now to Cagliari 3, Milan 3.
Oh, sorry.
Please.
Napoli remain first on 26 points, just 1 point ahead of Atalanta, Fiorentina, Inter and Lazio, who are on 25.
Perfect. Cagliari took on Milan in Sardinia, bro, and they played out a dramatic 3-3 draw, as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode. So regarding the lineups for Cagliari, it was Sherry in goal, actually, surprisingly. Alan Sherry sounds very Maltese to me.
It does.
They played a 4-2-3-1, of course, because Milan play a 4-2-3-1, so they're going to go literally man for man over here with a backline of Zappa, Palomino, Luperto and Augello, with Makumbu and Deola in the double pivot, Zortea out on the right, Luvumbo on the left, with Viola playing in the pocket behind Piccoli. For Milan, it was Magnan in goal with Teo, Pavlovic, Ciao and Emerson Royal at the back. Reinders and Fofana formed the double pivot with Leao on the left, Chukwueze on the right. Pulisic playing in the hole with Francesco Camarda starting up front, the 16-year-old. And he's going to be 16 until when was it? When's his birthday? I think it was February. Can you check that? I can't remember. I thought it was February for a second, but we'll see. Yes, I believe
March 10th.
March
2008.
2008. That was the striker for Milan this game. Absolutely crazy, of course, because Morata is injured and Abraham is still unfit. Now, also Jovic is injured along with Benacer, Gabbia and Florenzi, while Cagliari were missing Yeremina and Adopo, who were both suspended. To be honest, thank God for that, because imagine Camarda having to debut against Milan.
Madonna.
It would have been terrible for him.
Yeah.
So Cagliari opened the scoring within seconds through Nadir Zortea from a corner. In the 28th minute, Leao chipped Sherry to equalise for Milan after some magnificent work by Reinders.
You'd say in the 28th minute.
Did I get it wrong?
It's the 15th.
The 15th, sorry. Yes, this happens sometimes. So in the 15th minute, yes, it was indeed Leao who scored the goal. Yes, Reinders was absolutely amazing. He was like a ballerina in the middle over there, the way he turned.
Yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful. Following that, Leao struck again. He dribbled the goalkeeper to put Milan ahead. Zappa seemed to score for Cagliari, but it was ruled offside after Viola's touch. Piccoli also scored and was chalked off for offside, so a double scare there for Milan. In the second half, it was Zappa who equalised, capitalising on a Milan error, which initially looked to be Fofana's fault entirely. But on closer inspection, you notice... Okay, so what happened here, for those of you who didn't watch it, was that Fofana lost the ball, and when he regained possession, he kind of tapped it back to the centre-backs. There was no centre-back over there, and Zappa just ran in behind and took advantage of the space.
The second the ball left his foot, he grabbed his head like, oh shit, what have I done?
And you notice, like, the second he's about to play that ball, Pavlovic just attacks the space next to Fofana for no reason.
Ridiculous movement
whatsoever. Instead of making himself available by dropping back for the pass because his teammate is under pressure, he charged forward and left a hole, and of course they scored.
The rush of blood that we've talked about with Pavlovic, and he needs to work on that. And I hate how it looks like Fofana's fault. And don't get me wrong, maybe he was a bit messy in the way he handled things over there, but you need your centre back to be there.
Yeah, of course, there. Especially when these guys are so dangerous on the counter against the high line.
Yeah.
You know, they had Lovumbo, Zortea, Zappa, Augello. These guys were running wild while having the game of their life. Abraham eventually came on and did score in the 69th minute to give Milan the lead again, and then Milan decided to opt for a low block. You know, you see 5 defenders, flat back 5 over there. I'm like, all right, this is like good luck scoring against this. And then, of course, the cross comes in from the left side, and Zappa just volleys it sensationally into the top corner, completely unmarked at the far post. I don't even know where to start with this. I have so many points to mention, bro. So first of all, let's start off by saying that Cagliari had only scored 9 goals before this game.
Okay. And they put 3 past Milan.
And they put 3
because Milan's defense has been awful.
Now, Milan's defense has been awful. Yes. Why? So the centre-back pairings
have been inconsistent.
Constantly rotating. Constantly. Tomori, Gabbia. Ciao, Pavlovic. Ciao, Tomori. Gabbia, Pavlovic. These guys don't know each other. And they don't know the team around them. Hence, that Fofana-Pavlovic miscommunication. Hence, so many miscommunications in that defensive line. The only constants have been the fullbacks, Emerson Royal and Theo Hernandez. Other than that, the centre-back pairing is constantly changing. And you need that to be a staple of your team.
Yeah.
The centre-backs, they need to be consistent. They need to be there.
It obviously doesn't help that Gabbia's out injured, because I think Gabbia's the only staple centre-back, staple starting centre-back.
I think it's him and someone else. It has to be... who was it? I think it was also Costa Curta, actually, who said that for him, in his opinion, it needs to be Gabbia and Pavlovic. For me, it's Gabbia Tomori.
For me, it's Gabbia Tomori as well.
Especially if you're playing with a high line like that.
The thing is, bro, I think Milan needs a slightly more experienced centre-back. And I know that you'd hope that Tomori could be considered that, because he's been at the club at starting level for quite a long time. Let's say 5 years at this point. But they need someone a bit more experienced. And to take a bit of slack away from the defenders, I think it's how Milan as a unit allow the other teams to attack. I think they invite the team to attack while they're pressing high up the pitch. I don't think Fofana, Madonna. I don't think Fonseca himself knows how he wants Milan to defend and how he wants Milan to play off the ball.
I think he has clear ideas, Fonseca. I think that even simply watching it, you can tell that the players position themselves in a way that they make it clear what the ideas are. The problem are always these individual errors. Always. There's always someone who isn't doing his job. Let's take a look at the third goal, for example. Look at the third goal, Zappa's goal. Fantastic volley, whatever. Theo charged out to try to catch him. Yes, he was unmarked at the far post. Okay, whatever. But that cross should have never come in. While they were 1-2ing their way into space on the left side, Cagliari, Loftus-Cheek was not pressing his man, not trying to block the shot. He wasn't marking anyone. He was just there doing nothing. So he isn't understanding his role, or simply he's I don't know. That's it. I think he doesn't understand his role. He hasn't adapted yet to Loftus-Cheek, and Loftus-Cheek right now is a guy that is playing in a system that doesn't really fit his strengths, right? Because he can't be part of that double pivot, and he's not exactly great as a trequartista either. No. So he fits a 4-3-3 as a mezzala. It would be perfect, like a box-to-box midfielder, literally, where he can stretch and run and charge. We haven't seen terrible performances from Loftus-Cheek, not terrible,
but he just doesn't fit, he
just doesn't fit. And this was a perfect example. I mean, come on, man. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a massive player, physically imposing. Give them some trouble. They've been running these guys for 90 minutes on that side. Press them. You were meant to press there. Stop the cross from coming in. He was pedestrian, as was Chukwueze in their second goal. Chukwueze wasn't pressing in that goal either. That's true. Lack of familiarity with the system, eh?
And Fonseca decided to single out Theo Hernandez, who, to me, could have read the flight of the ball a bit better in the crosses to the second post.
Yes.
Because at that point, Cagliari were just, I think, saying to each other, what we have to do is attack down the left and cross to the far post. Because those are obviously where the holes are. And they did that all game, bro. Yes, it's how their first goal was scored, it's how their last goal was scored, and they had many an opportunity like that. I think Theo needs to wake the fuck up at the far post as well. It's not the first time we've seen this. And I think Fonseca's right to single him out. And I don't think he is exempt because of how good he is on the ball and how good he is on the counter, and because he's the captain, so on and so forth.
Thing. He's wearing the captain's armband and he looks indifferent. That's the thing. Leao, this game, alright, he was incredible. Leao can't complain at all. Actually, lucky to have him this game. He was incredible.
World class.
Now, the disease has spread to Theo Hernandez, of course, who also has a habit of looking indifferent in moments where we need our best players to step up. And that's the reality of what happened. This guy put in a half-assed performance with the armband on his arm.
Yep, that's what we saw. That's what we saw
indeed. And he risked getting sent off, Theo Hernandez. That's the thing as well. Because it could have easily been a red card when he was fucking bickering with that Cagliari player. But yeah. Also, regarding tactics, it was interesting to see Camarda taking on Morata's role to a T, including dropping down, moving, getting the ball in midfield. I thought he did all right, to be honest. He was pretty decent at it. He didn't stick out in any way. And not in a good way, not in a bad way, which is very good for a guy of his age.
No, and tactical discipline beyond his years in that sense. I think that Milan have adapted their system slightly from the last time that I've seen Milan. There's a reason Leao played so well in this game. There was a reason Leao was so involved, because it seems like Fonseca's now understanding the strengths of Leao. He waited this fucking long, but now he understands the strengths of Leao, which doesn't exactly scream massive opportunities for the striker. So we often saw Camarda coming in really, really deep. And we saw him play the ball like so many times. He was kind of between Fofana and Reinders many of the time. He was tracking back so much.
Because that's the thing.
But that's somewhere
the system attack. The space Cagliari were playing a dangerously high line. They were playing a dangerous game, and that's where Leao thrives.
Exactly.
And he was running in almost as a 9, but that's the only way he's going to be effective as a 9. Leao is if you play him through, and they played to his strengths perfectly. It was a joy to watch, to be honest, because Milan were giving the ball to Leao against low blocks on the left, and he wasn't able to do anything about this moment. So here he was utilized to his strengths.
And I hope we see Camarda starting a few more games. I think he showed us that he's capable of doing that. He's not going to stick out like a sore thumb when he does so.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, bro, if you want, I have a detailed analysis. Would you like to go through it?
Yes, of course.
Let's do this. So, by the way, Zappa is ex-Inter. He's 24 years old. He's also featured for Pescara, but I believe he was the captain of their Primavera. Zappa.
Makes sense.
Now, so regarding Cagliari, of course, there was a lot of growth here, especially tactically. They were very good. Nicola's game plan was on point. It was focused on, of course, minimizing errors. And it was similar to the approach in their previous loss to Lazio, where they played man for man and they tried to make the most out of these chances in behind. So they lined up in a 4-2-3-1, of course, as we mentioned, with the two central midfielders supporting the attack, while Deola dropped deep to form a 5+1 defensive structure. This allowed them to manage possession effectively, while also run down the right flank with Zappa and Zortea creating overloads through combining with Makumbu, Deola and Viola. In fact, Zappa and Zortea were fucking amazing this game. I was really impressed as well by Zortea. I know Zappa scored both goals, 2 goals, and Zortea scored 1, of course. Zortea was incredible. You look at the energy levels this guy has until the very end, and how tactically disciplined he is, and how he didn't give Theo
he always got the better. He always got the better of Theo. It's as simple as that. He always got the better of him.
It's true. Cagliari relied on width to attack, and they used Zappa as a hidden playmaker. And they moved the ball patiently to free up space for counter-attacks through Luvumbo on the left side, who also was a demon this game. The transitions were key, and they alternated between control and rapid vertical passes, which would shock Milan. In defense, Cagliari focused on blocking vertical channels, with Makumbu tasked on limiting Reinders, who is Milan's, of course, main playmaker. They did struggle with marking when it came to Milan's transitions, especially because the wingers were running centrally and essentially having Leao one-on-one against Palomino. Palomino, he has an advantage over there, even against Luperto, let alone against Palomino. And it did lead to a few defensive errors on their side. Yes, I think Milan's counter-attack managed to expose the defensive gaps that Cagliari's system left, particularly on the left side, where they were trying to overload Milan. However, yes, I was very impressed by Cagliari this game. Very, very impressed.
No, I mean, and in that stadium as well, when you get an early goal like that, when Cagliari got that early goal, I'm like, and I literally told you this when we were watching the game, I said, typically I like it when the smaller team scores so early against my team, because it's typically the worst thing that team can do, because now they've got to defend the wrath of Milan. But in that stadium, bro, with the fans so close to the pitch and all of the passion and the support, it just seems like Milan never calmed down in that game, and Cagliari brought chaos. I think Cagliari could have scored 6 goals in this match. The amount of opportunities they had, bro, with the 2 disallowed goals as well. I think if there was a
Magnan made massive saves.
Magnan made massive saves as well. If there was a team that could have won this game, it was Cagliari. Cagliari could have destroyed Milan in this game. I think Milan were a little bit lucky, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. And the fact that as well, you look at it and you look at the changes, because as we said, now it's a game of 2 halves totally, more than ever, and while Milan are bringing on Loftus-Cheek, Tomori, Abraham, Musa and Okafor, Cagliari have to bring on the old guns, their strikers, they brought on Pavoletti and Lapadula, scraps, literally. Pavoletti's way past it. Lapadula's a Milan reject at this point, also past it. Vietesca came on to replace Palomino. Gaetano, player still trying to prove himself. And Razvan Marin was that one player they saved to make a bit of an impact later on. But it's also curious to me how they don't utilize Marin. I think Marin is a player that you play to dominate the smaller teams, but if you're going to go man for man against the big teams, he's redundant. In fact, he only gave him 10 minutes over here.
in my opinion, Marin's their best midfielder.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I definitely think they should utilize him more. But like you said, maybe they wanted to make it a bit more physical over here with Makumbo and Deola. Could very much be. I was going to say something. At a point, I think it was Augello that volleyed the ball to Pavoletti. And Pavoletti first time volleyed it. And it just went over Manjan's goal. And I looked at you, it was 2-2, I think, at that point. So if that went in, I would have screamed goal. Like, there's no way. There's no way I wouldn't have celebrated that, because it was what a move, man. What a move. And it was hard not to celebrate Zappa's goal at the end. What a fucking volley that was, man. What a volley.
Especially, we have an affinity towards Cagliari.
Absolutely,
we love Cagliari. Of course, those of you who are regular listeners will know that we're big fans. We went there for their victory over Atalanta last year.
We experienced a miracle in Sardinia, thanks to a bean.
Yeah, now we witnessed one on our television.
Exactly.
Bloody hell, though. It was frustrating. That Zappa goal left me speechless, bro.
And you said, bro, you literally said, how Milan would it be if they beat Real Madrid midweek and drop points to Cagliari? Not only did they drop points to Cagliari, they conceded 3.
Yeah. I think that what Fonseca should do is pick a back 2 and stick to it. Give them as many games as you can. Make them friends. Send them out on activities together, team building and all that. Get a back 2 to know each other inside out. Because we're behind. Milan are behind. When it comes to the other teams, they've all got their back 2 set. All of them. And that's your fucking first line of defense, in front of the goalkeeper.
It's also very tactically...
You need that to be tight.
Very tactically unintelligent defenders, though, across the board, bro. Like, Gabbia's great.
Gabbia's a genius.
Emerson Royal tries. He tries at that. He's gotten better.
He has.
Pavlovic, not great. Has a lot of work to do over there. Tomori, never been great at it. Still has a lot of work to do. I'm starting to wonder, is that him? Or is he just a great recovery defender? Theo, not great at it either. Gabbia's great. Like Ciao, question marks, still has a lot to learn.
As it stands, I think that...
Give me an experienced centre-back for Milan, bro.
Fonseca's football, you need decent recovery pace if you're going to play a high line, or it's going to happen again, essentially.
But there's no harmony at the back.
There's no harmony at the back.
Because they're just going to sign him, he's
If
fast.
it weren't for the individual lapses, I think the goals could have been prevented. But if you play a high line with, for example, I don't know, Ciao, Pavlovic, you end up looking like Palomino Luperto did against Milan, against teams who have weapons up front. I think that Theo Hernandez, Emerson Royal and Tomori are super well suited for Fonseca's system in theory. Because they've got recovery pace, they're tough defenders. Theo Hernandez, I know people say he's weak defensively, but that's not what we saw in the last 2 seasons. He wasn't weak defensively. He has moments, or games rather, where he's switched off. Something's up, I don't know what the hell happens to him.
Games like this that
but he's totally distracted, I don't know. It's like he doesn't want to be there. Yes, it is games like that lose you the league. However, I would opt for, again, Gabbia, Tomori.
Gabbia has to be
I think Tomori will have Gabbia to hold his hand and to kind of command him, but Gabbia is super important over there. We need him back as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Tomori's got a bit of that Rudiger in him, right? He'll chew a defender's neck a little bit, which is always good.
Regarding that right wing position, while I don't mind Chukwueze, and I think he's coming into it slowly.
Yes. I think he's great.
Yes, but I don't know, man. I really liked what I saw from Musa against Real Madrid, man.
And even...
it gives you tactical flexibility as well. A player like that who's he's not really great at anything, but he's not really bad at anything either, Musa. He's just a lot of energy, man.
No, Musa is great with the ball. Musa's great at running with the ball.
Carrying the ball, driving.
The ball.
Yeah.
And that's why his best position is a mezzala, because he's central, but he's slightly drifted off where he could attack down the wing as well. Because he's good centrally as well, where he could win the ball, back and off the ball. He's more central, so on and so forth. But out wide and as a mezzala, he's great. And even in Milan's loss to Fiorentina, he was one of Milan's best players in the middle of the pitch. I think he could be utilised more. I think there's a really unfair agenda against Musa. I think he's really deployable, particularly in the system. And you're right. I like him on the right.
And you look at this game where against Cagliari, who went man for man, we needed someone tough. You know, Chukwueze and Camarda essentially make you feel like in the duels you're not going to win them. And then you get Teo in a game like this. You know, I think what was the statistic that Fonseca pointed out? 69% of the duels were lost by Milan. Something like that.
Yes. That's not what you want.
No way,
right?
Not at all. Especially
when
you look at the wage bill and who these players are and who they're playing against. You need to do better than that. Yeah.
Shout out Reinders, shout out Leao, shout out Fofana.
Yes.
Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Shout out Fofana, season, you were great, bro.
While this season has been extremely weird for Milan fans because the highs have been high with victories against Inter and Real Madrid. The lows have been low, like a draw to Cagliari and the loss to Parma. However, man, some players are emerging who it's no longer Theo Leao.
No.
Then it was Theo Leao, and then everyone was like, Pulisic as well. Pulisic is the guy. It's true, Pulisic is the guy. But Reinders at the moment is wow, dude.
Fucking hell, bro. Fucking hell. One of the best central midfielders in the league.
And he locks
top
in.
Three. He's top three at the moment.
You see him, he enters this almost flow state in games where he's almost in a trance, man. Where everything he does is just smooth and he's so focused and aware of the players around him. And it's totally different to the player we saw when he first arrived at Milan. When he wasn't passing, remember we used to criticize Reinders saying he never picks out the pass, he's always going for that shot.
No, he only...
Totally different. The growth has been ridiculous.
And it's only sensational passes that he gives at the moment, man. Yes. Everything he's touching is turning to
goal. And when was the last time we saw a chipped ball over the top like that with the outstep, with the outside of his foot? Food, Madonna. And also Fofana I'm liking a lot.
Yeah. Loads.
So yes, things are weird with Milan at the moment. I think they've got a few things they need to tweak and things should get better. When games are open, Milan are better. When games are tight, Milan aren't great. Let's just say that. As for the standings, we've got Milan in 7th with 18 points, of course, in that game in hand, while Cagliari are in 16th with 10 points.
Roma 2, Bologna 3. Roma faced Bologna in a tense atmosphere with pressure mounting on manager Juric, who has now been sacked. Roma's squad was notably weakened by the absences of several players: Dybala, Pellegrini, Hermoso, Salamakers, Zalewski and Cristante. Bologna, entering the match on a strong note after 2 consecutive Serie A wins, were missing Erlich, El Azuzi, Abisher and Cambiaghi. 3-4-2-1 for Juric's men, now Ranieri's men, with Svilar in goal and a backline of Angelino, Indica and Mancini. El Shaarawy out on the left, Celik out on the right, and a double pivot of Kone and Cristante. I was quite sure I said Cristante was out injured. He was doubtful for this game, but he started.
Yes, and the Roma fans were freaking out. Of course, they just can't get rid of this guy. 100% Ranieri plays Cristante.
Yes, in a 4-4-2.
Yeah,
literally, bro. No, facts.
As a centre back.
With Pisilli and Sule playing behind Dovbyk. It was a 4-2-3-1 for Italiano's men, with Skorupski in goal and the backline of De Silvestri, Beukema, Lukumi and Miranda. Good to see De Silvestri get minutes again. Freuler and Pobega and the double pivot. Welcome back Tommy P. Orsolini out on the right, Ndoye out on the left, and Odegaard playing behind Castro.
I'm gonna find that post. What was it by Pobega, bro? Do you remember?
Oh my god! Caption? I sent you a screenshot.
You sent me a screenshot?
Yes, I sent you a screenshot, or I DM'd it to you. I'm not sure.
On Instagram. Then I don't have access to it here.
It could be.
My phone is being used to film our YouTube video.
Here you go, bro. Because
it's hilarious. It's a hilarious caption.
Oh, my hands are sweaty and my phone doesn't like that.
Gross.
My hands are always sweaty.
Why?
This week. I don't know, man.
You're nervous, man.
I'm always nervous. Pobega posted, "I was hungry for the game, so I fed my appetite." Relax. Relax.
Bro, got to start.
Finally, and the coach fed your appetite, bro. You know, he decided to start. He didn't just decide to start the game.
Interesting choice of caption.
Yeah. Whoever's looking after your socials, funny. Bologna opened the scoring when Lukumi's flick from a corner allowed Castro to bundle ball into the back of the net amidst defensive lapses from Roma. Roma nearly equalised shortly after as Soler's shot struck the underside of the crossbar after some great work by Kone. I feel like Soler should have done better there. El Shaarawy brought Roma level with a looping header from a Mancini cross that slipped past Skorupski. However, Bologna regained the lead within minutes when Orsolini's shot deflected off Angelino, looping over Villar. There's actually a great ball here by Castro, who slipped into midfield and played a very Zirkzee-esque ball over the top, and it was a 1v1 and then between Orsolini and Angelino.
Nice to see that kind of style is still there.
Yep.
Because Italiano could use that. I mean, he hasn't had a 9 scoring since God knows when. I don't know if he's ever had a 9 scoring. So might as well drop
Castro's doing incredibly well this season.
He is.
I'm really enjoying.
He's one of the surprises of the season.
Emerging stars.
Yeah.
Bologna's third goal then came from Carlson, who executed a smooth give and go with Miranda before scoring past Villar for his first goal ever for Bologna, and then El Shaarawy got a consolation goal with a stunning right-footed finish to reduce the deficit to 3-2. Roma couldn't find an equaliser, with Dovbyk missing a last-minute opportunity as well. Okay, so all my notes over here are managers that Roma were considering. They were considering Montella, mainly, but he's obviously employed by Turkey, and I believe he had to pay like 1.1 million to leave Turkey, and then he said that he'll only take the job if he doesn't take over as a caretaker manager, and that his wage is over 2.5 million.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Clearly too rich for the Friedkins blood.
The Friedkins!
Also, interesting, Alan sent something on the Patreon chat related to what James Horncastle said about the Friedkins, which is basically that the Friedkins, they don't have a strong pulse. So it doesn't take a genius to notice this, right? But they don't have a strong pulse on Roman football and Italian football at all.
They pay out advisors.
They pay out advisors, and they want English-speaking personnel
to communicate with these said advisors who don't understand the culture in Rome. But again, they really listen to what people say, man. They're dialed in. They're super populist, almost comically populist, and I'm sure this is a coincidence. But did you see the IFTV thing?
Yes, bro. Yes.
IFTV. They said what's his name? The
father of Marco.
Yeah, Gaetano. I think his name is something like that. Shout out to him. Yes. He basically said that if I were Roma right now, I'd just bring in Ranieri to steady the ship, and just guide them till the end of the season, and then we'll see what we'll do afterwards. Essentially, so this is a write-off, the writing off the season by getting Ranieri, right?
I mean, what do you mean by write it off? What do you think
they have no?
are?
But, honestly, right now, having a person on the bench who the players don't hate, having a person on the bench who is Roman, having a person on the bench who has actually played for Roma, 6 appearances back in the day for Roma, over 2 seasons for Ranieri. So I think right now it's just to maybe focus on rebuilding the atmosphere, improving the atmosphere rather than anything else. It's almost like they've given up. I don't know, man. I think that the Juric appointment was such a bad mistake that it cost them the entire season so early on, because you could have used this year to get De Rossi used to this set of players.
Bro, yes, 100%.
That's what this year was
100%.
meant to be.
But
when you bring in so many new players, you're meant to give the manager time. It's a project, especially when you're bringing in young players.
But what do you expect them to do now? They're not gonna drop Juric and find the manager that's going to turn things around, find the manager that is a long-term investment, that they're just going to say, 1 second they've got Juric, and then the next they're going to go, okay, no, we found the guy that's going to solve all the issues. They can't make that long-term decision throughout this heat and throughout all of this chaos, amidst this chaos.
But at least go for someone who you have
someone that knows the club. Someone that the fans respect, because there's a crazy feud between the fans and the players and the club at the moment. So they're bringing in a figure who is familiar, who the fans respect, who the clubs respect. He's going to walk in And he's going to tell them all about what he's done with Leicester City. And they're going to admire him for it. He has the respect of everyone, Ranieri.
Of course,
He also has a solid system that allows you to play. It's a good mix between a Juric system and a De Rossi system. It's somewhere in between that. It's a 4-4-2 if you have the right personnel. So you're definitely secure off the ball. If you have the right personnel, you can be quite dangerous on the ball. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve. We saw what he was doing with Cagliari last season, for example. And we've seen what he could do with talented players. I get you. It's not like they brought in a shock name. It's not like they brought in Mancini.
They brought in a former manager.
They brought in a 70-something-year-old former manager.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know what it is, man. Once again, it seems like a cheap way out for me, and a way to kind of tell the fans, here you go, a Roman, you can't complain.
But what do you want them to do? Solve the whole issue now?
No, but bring in someone who at least has the potential to be more than a caretaker manager, a Pioli type, someone who's got exciting principles, someone whose system is tailored to, or his philosophy of the game is tailored to the players you have. Once again, okay, they've brought in Ranieri. Okay, he's a thinker, man. He's used many formations in his time, right? But primarily, as you mentioned, he likes that 4-4-2, right? Flat back 4-4-2. Where are you gonna put Sule in that 4-4-2? In my fucking ass? Where the fuck are you gonna put him, bro?
Striker rotation with Dybala. Fuck it, bro. Something had to happen.
And Dybala as well. Like yes, something had to happen. Yes, sure.
And if it's a 4-4-2, can't you play Soler right midfield? Like, come on. What's wrong with playing Soler right midfield? No, I think that. By the way, Gaetano. Shout out Gaetano.
Yes, it is Gaetano.
But again, they weren't gonna solve the issue now. There wasn't any decision they could have made that would have been like, okay. They've solved it.
What about the return of De Rossi? Admit you made a mistake and do bring him back.
Wouldn't that be... Do you genuinely think that was a possibility? To bring back De Rossi?
De Rossi has made himself available for them. He said, I can never say no to Roma. How romantic. They could have admitted their mistake and brought him back. And
but is that
he was
solution?
Excited. Maybe, because he was exciting. We saw very good things under De Rossi for Roma. Last season, sure, but the season, it was 4 games. And he was sacked.
Yes, it was crazy early. It was a stupid decision. I
think the smart thing to do for them would have been to bring back De Rossi, but they've gone for this. Let us know what you think, guys.
First, it's not a fairy tale world, because only in fucking Ted Lasso and fairy tale worlds would they bring back De Rossi after. Just 8 matches after letting him go? 7 matches after letting him go?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, literally.
And the ownership, the Friedkins, can't do that, bro. They would have never done that. Because people would have, I'm sure there would be some mature heads, some mature fans that would have said, respect, they're basically admitting their mistake over here. But the average fan, every other single fan, would be like, oh my god, they're so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because they've now kept De Rossi and they've lost us 8 matches this season by bringing in Juric. They loaned in Juric randomly.
Yeah.
No, it would have been...
Salernitana-esque when they were doing that whole thing with Nicola.
Yeah, it would have been even weirder.
Let's give you a quick rundown on Ranieri's career, by the way. Did you know that as a player, he was prolific at Catanzaro? He had 226 appearances, scoring 8 times.
Fucking hell.
That was that was his team after Roma. And then he went on to Catania, where he had 92 appearances, even scoring a goal, and then eventually to Palermo. This was in the 80s, where he had 40 appearances. He started his managerial career in 1986 with Vigor Lamezia, and went on to manage a myriad of teams, including Cagliari, Napoli, Fiorentina, Valencia, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Parma, Juventus, Roma, Inter, Monaco, Greece, Leicester City after managing Greece. So he went from Greece to Leicester City and then eventually winning the Premier League.
Yeah.
Nantes, Fulham, Roma, Sampdoria, Watford, Cagliari. Yeah. The man's got a lot of experience.
He's got some CV. He's got some
We'll
CV.
see how he makes Roma look. I mean, I liked what he did at Cagliari most recently. You know, it was steady. But again, you can't really compare because the objective every game for Cagliari was don't lose against the big teams and try to get something out of the small ones. They scrape through survival every time. Right?
Yeah. I think over here it's just important that before they start worrying about competing and before they start worrying about where what player is going to play and what position suits this player best and what system is, you have to create harmony. Harmony in the locker room, harmony with the owners, harmony with the fans. They just need to calm everyone down. I think that is step number one. And then the next step, they can worry about it later. Look, they're not going to end the season well. I think that's inevitable. That's a fact. I know it's early on in the season, but it's late enough to be able to tell Roma aren't competing for shit this season. Where are they? 12th place?
They're 12th with 13 points.
12th with 13 points. There you go.
They're 5 points behind 8th place, which might get you Europe.
I mean, but that's not a great
It's not a
place
guarantee,
to be,
and
no.
it's not a great place to be either. No. We'll see. I mean, maybe the Tinker Man himself will instill harmony and dilly ding, dilly dong. He'll have these guys playing again. We'll see. I'm curious to see, to be honest. I can't wait.
I think Bologna took advantage of all this chaos very well. I think Roma knew that this was Juric's last match, even if they would have won the game, even if they would have drawn the game. I think it was quite clear. Bologna clearly took advantage of a very shaky Roma system. You look at all the goals. Celik sucks, for example. Angelino was getting schooled by Orsolini the entire game as well. Mancini was attacking. He even assisted from a wide position and he crossed the ball and they were always open to counter-attacks. It took El Shaarawy to score a doppietta to even do something.
He wore his heart on his sleeve this game, El Shaarawy. He was driven and he was playing for the shirt. It was nice to see.
But great result for Bologna over here. Bologna actually sit in 8th place, level on points with Milan with 18 points, whilst Roma are down in 12th on 13 points, actually 5 points behind. Milan, Bologna have a game in hand, right? So they could actually be a lot more behind that.
Yeah. Moving on to the best derby in Europe.
Yeah, totally.
Juve 2, Torino 0. And it was a 4-2-3-1 formation for Juventus with Perin in goal. Savona, Gatti, Kalulu and Cambiaso formed the flat back four with Locatelli and Thuram in the double pivot, with Wea and Yildiz playing on the wings, with Coop Miners playing behind Vlahovic. Now I just realized I said flat back four. That is definitely not flat when it comes to Juve. There's nothing flat about that back
it's
four.
True.
The way Cambiaso plays, he's essentially a midfielder.
A wavy back four.
A wavy back four, exactly. For Torino, it was a 3-5-2 formation with Milinkovic-Savic in goal, Mazina, Kokko and Valukovic at the back, with Lazaro and Pedersen on the flanks. Ilic, Ricci and Linetti were in the middle, with Sanabria and Vlasic up front.
Vlasic up front? Interesting.
Yes, it was a surprising lineup, to be honest. I think that Juve this game dominated both offensively and defensively, and they had a clear tactical advantage that left Torino, to be honest, struggling for 90 minutes. As we said, Juve set up in a kind of a 3-5-2 on the pitch when you looked at it in action, and they focused on fluid attacking transitions and wide play, with Cambiaso on the left and Wea on the right providing constant threats. Early on in the match, Juventus found a lot of joy on the left wing, where Cambiaso was able to link up with Coop Miners and create overloads that Torino were really struggling to defend against. In fact, Wea opened the scoring when Cambiaso was terrorizing that side, and he managed to get the rebound. Torino in defense kind of looked like it was a 3-5-1-1, with Sanabria as the sole striker and Vlasic playing as a trequartista behind him.
As expected.
However, this failed to provide any offensive threats, and they spent most of the time absorbing pressure. And this is something we highlighted, that Vlasic isn't enough of a creative outlet for Torino. They need more. Before it was, Duvan's hold-up play. He was essentially the playmaker.
Yeah.
But now they're really struggling. One second. Their attempts to break on the counter were few and ineffective, and Vlasic's shot at the very end of the game was their only real shot on goal, to be honest. I believe there was another weak shot in the first half as well for Torino, but that's it. They really didn't press them at all. They really didn't attack or put them in any dangerous situations. In the second half, Torino did try, however, to move Vlasic to a more midfield role, and they introduced Ingi alongside Sanabria. However, it didn't really matter. It didn't really do anything. Juve maintained their dominance. They controlled possession. They managed the game with ease. Ciao eventually started terrorizing his side and set up Yildiz with a diving header. And he celebrated in a Del Piero style celebration, honoring his 50th birthday.
What a big deal, His 50th birthday was.
It's the big 5-0 for Del Piero. The big 5-0, actually. Yeah. I thought that the difference between these two teams was stark, and that Juve just looked so much better drilled than Torino. And Vanoli's looking a bit dry lately, bro. That's 6 defeats in 7 for Torino.
Yeah. And I think the only win over there comes against Como, who are one of the only teams that have a worse record at the moment.
Yeah.
No, I mean, even stylistically, if you look at the way both teams are playing their football, a Motta system versus a Vanoli system, there's only one winner over there. I don't think it takes all the world-class players that Juve have on their pitch to be able to win a game which is set up in this way. Because Torino like to win the ball high up the pitch. Juve don't give the ball away in defensive areas. If they have a strong point, if Motta's system has a strong point, it's getting out of that press and moving the ball up.
Especially with this midfield three, I think these are the guys, bro, unfortunately for Douglas Luiz, because Locatelli, Thuram, Koopmeiners seems perfectly balanced.
Really like so impressed by Locatelli that he's managed to stay this consistent. It's like, no, this is my spot. You could spend your money, bring in your 50 million player and his really hot girlfriend, who's also very good at football. I'm staying right here. And Locatelli has been the familiar face over there, and not only familiar face, but you have Yildiz, who barely played last season and the season before. Obviously, he was still working his way into the starting 11. Koopmeiners new, Kefren Thuram new. He joined last season, but typically we also see Ciao over there. Savona didn't really play last season. He didn't play at all, actually. Kalulu is new. And they just needed someone in the middle over there that has familiarity. With the rest of the squad, someone that's going to bring some harmony, and I think that guy was Manuel Locatelli. I think slowly we could see maybe the introduction of Douglas Luiz. I still think he's a fantastic player, and a very versatile one. And I think the good thing about Douglas Luiz is that if Koopmeiners gets injured, he can replace him. If Thuram gets injured, he can replace him. And if Locatelli gets injured, he can replace him as well.
It's true.
Because he's really, really versatile.
That's the thing about these guys, Koopmeiners and Douglas Luiz. They're both very tactically intelligent.
And same could be said about McKennie, huh?
Yes.
Same could be said about McKennie. A very versatile midfielder.
Is Motta's secret weapon at the moment, bad news for Juve, as Cabal has done his ACL, though. So
I didn't know
their second defensive ACL. And bad news for Torino, as this game they lost Ilic and Ricci. Ilic had a muscle injury, and Ricci, I'm not quite sure what his condition is, but he won't be joining Spalletti's Italy. So I think this was plain sailing for Juve. The defense looked good. I don't know if it's saying much against Torino, but to negate them to the point that they never looked threatening at any point is quite impressive. And yes, but worrying signs for Torino.
Absolutely, man. I think they had a good start to the season, where they showed that. Good start to the season, I think, is an overstatement. I think they had an exciting start to the season. They had a promising start to the season. But they don't look like they could take it over the line. They don't look like they're good at beating their opponents, basically.
And now their solution, apparently, it's been rumored that in January they're going to try to bring in Beto. The Beto that we saw at Udinese, the Beto we saw at Everton.
I mean, he knows the league. He's a reference point.
A reference point
scores
for what?
in 7
for
straight
how
games.
to miscontrol the ball.
No, he's not great. He's not great.
He's got a horrible touch, horrendous. And I don't know. He's got goals in the league, and he's always managed somehow to score at least 8, not at least, at most, I would say 8 goals a season. 10 goals a season? He would score
somewhere
around that region. He is a player that I don't really rate very highly, and I highly doubt that he will solve anything for Torino. I think they should be looking at other profiles. I get it that he's close as the Zapata mold, but I don't think he's close enough to that Zapata mold at all. And I think they should kind of bring in a creative player more than anything else right now.
They do need a reference point up front, though.
But is Beto the guy if you're gonna do
No, you're probably right. He's not. But again, bro, it's January. Like, if they're gonna do that in January,
I mean, if it's a loan deal, fuck it, try it.
Exactly. There's only so much you can do in January.
And Juve apparently seem very the rumors are really gaining traction that Zirkzee
on loan.
And I think that's a win-win for everyone. I think. It's good for Zirkzee because he's reunited with Motta. It's good for Juve because it relieves a bit of the pressure from Vlahovic. And you might imagine, doesn't competition add pressure? No, because he has time to rest, compose himself. He's not under scrutiny, under fire, and having to play constantly. Because
you said it's a win-win for everyone. It's not exactly a win for United today because they've got 2 guys, Højlund and Zirkzee.
Zirkzee.
Højlund and Zirkzee. Why would they remove Zirkzee?
Because apparently he's really struggling.
He's struggling, but he has to get used to it. It's his first season. They can't just play with it. They'll
I don't know.
Literally trade hands with Juve and have one striker themselves.
It's a good thing we cover Serie A. Because if we ever had like a Premier League podcast, I wouldn't even know where to start with United. How do you explain what they're doing? Like in Italy, the budgets are so tight that people are really careful with them and everything makes sense. There's a reason for every signing. What would you say about like United signing Anthony for God knows how much, or like spending 60
because
million?
Because Emiro one and the Varane one, but they've gotten better at it. Signing like Zirkzee and Højlund are good signings in that sense.
Yes, but still, the price you pay for one season is
but they've brought, I think, a new sporting director.
Everyone's learned now that. These English teams are ready to pay up and they can be taken advantage of, and in fact everyone is taking advantage of them. Atalanta are Exhibit A. They've made hundreds of millions from United, and I'm not exaggerating. Hundreds of millions.
Literally. Yeah. And then they got Lookman for how much?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Interesting to see that Weah already has an all-time career high regarding goals, and it's only November, and he's scored now in the Derby d'Italia and the Derby della Mole back-to-back, so good for him as well. He seems to be more comfortable in this position.
Definitely. I feel like Motta knows how to use him.
Yes, absolutely. Unlike Vlahovic, who doesn't seem to be playing to his strengths. Yeah. And that is pretty much my take on this game.
Where do they stand, Hombre?
They currently stand, so Juve are in 6th with 24 points, while Torino are in 11th with 14 points. Because they've got 4 wins from early on in the season, 2 draws and 6 losses, which have all come recently.
Yeah, they're right exactly where you would expect them to be.
Yeah.
No? Atalanta 2, Udinese 1. Atalanta were without several key players, including CDK, Kolasinac, Scalvini and Scamacca. This led to Samardzic starting against his former club. Zappacosta also began the match but struggled with a muscle injury, later substituted for Bellanova. Udinese, on the other hand, welcomed back Isaac Toure after suspension, but still missed Sanchez, Christensen and Delafeu. It's a good thing they welcomed back Isaac Toure, because he was pivotal in getting Atalanta the victory by scoring an own goal. It was a 3-4-2-1 for Gasperini's men, with Carne Secchi in goal and a backline of Jim City, Hien and Kosunu. Ruggieri was on the left, Zappacosta was on the right, and a double pivot of Derone and Pasalic was in place, with Lookman and Samardzic flanking Retegui. 3-5-2 formation for Udinese with Okoye in goal and the backline of Giannetti, Bijol and Isaac Toure, Ezebue on the right, Kamara on the left, and a midfield three of Payero, Karlstrom and Lovridge, with Tuvan and Kinnan Davis up front. Now, in the second minute, I don't know if you caught this, in the second minute, there's definitely a handball by Hien.
With the elbow.
For sure,
100%
by Hien and a penalty. It was crazy.
Ignored. It was just ignored.
Completely fucking ignored.
Imagine how Conte would react to that.
Crazy, man. I thought I was going crazy. Clear penalty, just not given to Udinese 2 minutes in. Atalanta seemed to have scored first when Retegui headed in a rebound, but the goal was disallowed due to Lookman's offside interference. And shortly after, Udinese actually had a goal cancelled as well due to Davis's push on their own. The deadlock was broken in the first half stoppage time when Hassan Kamara blasted a long-range shot into the top corner. Unstoppable drive. It reminded me a bit of Balotelli's goal for Milan. A bit closer and on the other side.
And not as good.
And not as good.
Bro, he celebrated like DiMarco right behind him.
There you go. He also did this at the start. It's like, oh my god, like that was sexy.
Yeah.
He did have time and space because Zappacosta had picked up a knock and he was limping to try to gain some ground on Kamara, but Kamara obviously took full advantage, and Udinese went into the break with the lead.
In fact, he was substituted, Zappacosta, for that, so he did get injured.
And Bellanova came on, and in the 55th minute he assisted Pasalic, and swift and well-coordinated play, which included several players, as was the case last week as well. Bellanova's cross from the right found Pasalic, who calmly finished into the net, and then a few moments later a low cross by Bellanova deflected off of Isaac Toure, resulting in an own goal that gave Atalanta the lead. Off the bat, one thing that I want to instantly address is Nicolo Zaniolo.
Poor guy, man.
He came onto the pitch, and after, I believe, 20 minutes, he was forced off after feeling discomfort. And that's another injury for Atalanta, but more importantly, it's unfortunately another injury for Zaniolo. And I hope it's nothing serious, because it feels like the world's against him at the moment. He's one of the few players that needed a move to Atalanta, and it didn't work out for him. Because typically a player like him is so revitalized in that system.
He was showing positive signs. It's a real shame. I wonder if there's an injury update.
See if you could find that.
There are hundreds of articles if you Google Zaniolo injury.
If you go, the transfer market has a section with the player's injury history, and it's pages and pages and pages of injuries. Unfortunately, the poor guy. But that's 6 wins in a row for Atalanta. They're flying at the moment, and they have their injuries, like we saw as well. But they have such a deep squad, and they have such a nailed-on system that they keep rocking, they keep rolling, and they keep getting these victories, whether it's against Napoli, whether it's against Udinese. They're flying at the moment, and I really want to figure out who they're playing next after the international break, because that would be very interesting. They're actually playing against Young Boys in the Champions League, but before that they're playing Parma away, so should be another victory over there for Atalanta. They then run into some tougher fixtures as they play Roma away from home, they play Milan at home, and then they go to play Real Madrid at home as well in the Champions League. And then after that we start to see the Coppa Italia coming into play as well, so over there the importance of having a deep squad is even more prevalent. On the other hand, it's 3 losses in a row for Udinese, but you have to say they were super unlucky in this game, because they should have had a penalty on Hien. They hit the post twice through Payero and Thuvan, and they lost the game due to an own goal.
Exactly. And the guy who scored the own goal is 6'7", so he actually started that sliding tackle, the block in his own half.
Exactly.
Sorry, in the opposition half, I was meant to say.
Yeah.
Zaniolo, apparently, I can't find anything concrete, but people aren't optimistic. The medics and the club isn't optimistic at all, and it seems muscular. So yeah.
Jim City, I believe it was a right ankle sprain after attempting to block a Thuvan shot. He left the pitch earlier as well, but hopefully that's a bit, I've sprained my ankle and I'm back better than ever. So I think that should be fine. I can't stress the importance of Jim City in Atalanta's defense, because he gives them that order.
He's the anchor.
He's the anchor over there, exactly.
Yes.
And that's why they afford to have their own there sometimes, because Jim City isn't gonna bloody move from there, and you could rely on him completely.
It's true. I'm surprised at how Udinese managed to actually, the game was very even, as you mentioned.
Yes,
Udinese
yes.
played a very, very good game over here. I was impressed by Bellanova when he came on. I think this was his best performance so far for them, and he had an assist in the game before this one as well coming on. So nice to see him coming into it. When he comes on, he's a weapon. When he's fresh and there are tired legs and there are team who are actually attacking you and actually playing against you, Bellanova can play into space, and that's where he thrives.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice to see him being utilized.
It's a perfect system for him. It is a perfect system. I don't know if you caught this as well in the opening moments. Like it was action packed from the get go. Pasalic had a cross shot that was saved by Okoye. And then that was followed by Carnesecchi. And this was a brilliant save by Okoye. Fantastic save. It was kind of like swerving into the far post. And then Carnesecchi had a double save on Sandy Lovrich and Keenan Davis from the counter-attack. And this was all like in the opening 5 minutes. There was the penalty shout as well. And then Udinese had hit the post in the 17th minute through Payero. This game was it was so hectic. It was so end-to-end, particularly the first half. And then the second half, I feel like Atalanta managed to shut it down a little bit, get those 2 goals, and they managed to maintain that control for the rest of the match.
Yeah, that's true. And they do, they're experts at forcing errors, Atalanta. Because it's not like they had massive chances in that second half, but they forced the own goal essentially through a cross, through numbers running in, the defense panicking and just throwing themselves to block the shot. A fortunate deflection, boom, you're up, and then you're not scoring against them.
And isn't that where Atalanta could be better when compared to as in like it's an improvement point for Atalanta this season? Is Atalanta are the team that they've been one of the most dangerous teams in Serie A for the past 6-7 years, man. They're always, no matter who the 11 men on the pitch is, Gasperini's Atalanta are known as this attacking unit. There was that one season where they were a bit more pragmatic. I think it was 2 seasons ago, but they've always been these attacking titans. Their problem was always they allow a scrap. They get into a scrap. And sometimes when it's a scrap and it's 1-1 and they're battling, they can lose it. Just like they lost to Cagliari last season. And just like they'll lose these random games against Como this season, for example.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Hopefully this is the start of a trend. This victory over here where they didn't entirely deserve the win and they got the win. Hopefully that's a sign that they could be the worst teams and still win the game. I don't know how much of a sign that is because I know Atalanta. And I know that it's almost like they enjoy the game a bit too much, man, sometimes.
That's true. And they haven't lost since that Como game. They haven't lost at all.
They tend to go on these spells, huh?
They do. And that Como game came shortly after. It was right in between Bologna and Arsenal. So it was fatigue might have played a part. I'm super impressed by Atalanta. I think that when it comes to... We mentioned this actually in a recent episode, right? They've got what's the word? Consistency. They've got a group that's together and that has been together for a while. They've got players as well in there. I mean, granted, they do sell some of their best ones, but like Derun over there is a staple, and he knows what it's all about. He knows what this Atalanta rise means to the people of Bergamo, and what Gasperini is and everything. So it's nice to see them, yes, and I think that if they're lucky with injuries, a little bit luckier, which doesn't seem to be the case because they've just lost another 2 players, they could compete for the league, man. Yes. Definitely.
They of course also have the Champions League, but again, they do have quite a deep squad that they can work with. One of the deeper ones, they play Real Madrid soon.
Yeah, but their game is very intense. It's high intensity. They're more, I think... They're more prone to injuries than other teams are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
problem. Yeah, okay, so we agree, definitely.
Yeah. They're actually in second on 25 points. Great goal difference of plus 16, which is the best in the league. one better than Fiorentina, who have plus 15. And on the other hand, Udinese are in 9th on 16 points, 1 point ahead of Empoli.
Brill cream. No. Remember Brill cream?
Yeah, I remember.
Have you ever used?
Of course, I used to. We used to use Brill cream.
I used to use back in the day, and now I'm bored.
That was the Kuhn Green, bro.
Kuhn Green or the Got to be glued, bro.
My
you don't remember
God.
that?
You know,
it comes out like plastic.
Girls are using Got to be glued hairspray.
Us,
Nowadays, Key uses it for dance.
They should be careful.
They have to be careful.
Yes.
Just so you know, I have 20 minutes to go.
Fiorentina 3, Verona 1. And this game included a Moise Kean hat-trick.
Moist Queen, baby, Moist Queen.
Incredible. He opened the scoring early, finishing a pass from Beltran, who played him through. Beltran was playing in that kind of 10 position. I don't know why I forgot to read the lineups. We've got a 4-2-3-1 for Fiorentina with De Gea in goal, or De Gea. Flat. I'm going to sub this flat back four. Back four of Dodo, Comuzzo, Ranieri and Gosens, with Bove and Adli in the double pivot, with Colpani and Sotil flanking Keane, who was backed up by Beltran right behind him. For Verona, it was a 4-2-3-1 formation with Montipo in goal, Bradaric on the left. One sec, because my iPad spazzed out.
I was seeing it from the corner of my eye. Just belly dancing.
Yeah, really smooth it's been. Ciao on the right with Magnani and Coppola as a centre-back partnership, with Serdar and Duda as a double pivot, Lazovic, Harui and Suslov playing behind Tengstedt. Now, yes, Keane opened the scoring early, finishing a pass from Beltran, who was playing as like a 10, which really suits him in our opinion. We've been saying this since last season when he first arrived. We're like, this Beltran is no 9, he's definitely a 10.
He almost seems like right now he's playing as the direct replacement for Albert Gudmundsson.
No,
a secondary striker.
It's true. In the 18th minute, it was Serdar who equalized for Verona after Bove was dispossessed. He had a fantastic, powerful, long-ranged effort to get his first goal in Serie A. Beautiful over there. Comuzzo needed stitches after a head injury shortly, and then Keane in the second half restored Fiorentina's lead with a volley from an Adli corner. This was Zlatan-esque, the way he was being manhandled by Coppola, but still managed to get his foot up and kind of score with his studs.
Yeah, man.
Really cool.
That's so cool.
Bradaric had to leave the pitch due to a suspected broken nose after colliding with Keane. It was a really physical game. And then Keane missed an empty net after Kwame rounded Montipo and squared him the ball, and he skied it. He could have got his hat-trick, and he was fuming. He was so pissed off because he was like, that's it, I didn't get my hat-trick. I could have had a hat-trick. And then, lo and behold, De Gea gets the ball, kicks it upfield, gets Keane in a perfect 1v1 situation against Belayan, who's no physically imposing player. He's a small, shifty type of player. And yeah, Keane essentially schooled him and just finished into the bottom corner. Keane was too much for them this game. He outstrengthed them. On 2 goals, he outstrengthed Coppola, and he totally destroyed Belayan at the end of the game. I think that Fiorentina started strong, but they lost intensity as the first half progressed, because this was the exact same 11 back-to-back with one change, with Adli playing instead of Richardson. So they did kind of lose intensity as the first half progressed. Although they did, of course, take the lead initially, they did concede a goal after frequent vertical back passes to Keane, who was closely marked by Verona centre-backs Coppola and Magnani, who were actually finding a bit of success in the first half in marking him. The main issue was Fiorentina's wing play, which lacked rhythm and consistency. Palladino tried to spread the game wide and space out the midfield, but Verona's high press was slowing down Fiorentina's passing and made their attack super predictable. In the second half, Fiorentina changed their approach. They gained more ground and more speed, while Verona struggled on the counter, probably because fatigue hit them. The lead came from a corner. They moved the ball around more quickly, essentially, and they stretched Verona wide, and this made all the difference in the second half.
In fact, even if you look at the goals, so apart from the set piece, the corner that got them with the goal, it was in the 92nd minute, it was a long ball from De Gea that got them the goal. And even in the first half, it was a pass down the middle by Beltran, who had a lot of space to operate in the middle, which probably shows that they were actually stretching the game as well successfully in the first half as well.
Yeah, but they weren't moving the ball around fast enough. That's it, I think.
They started with a bit more of a cautious approach, what it seemed like Fiorentina. And then they got the second goal in the 59th minute, and after that, it was all them. And then instantly, like after that goal, they waited a bit and they made like a bunch of substitutions. Where they took out Adli, they took out Beltran, they took out Sotil, they took out Colpani, they took out Bove. So over there, it's almost like, okay, we got what we needed out of this game. Let's continue to maintain this result. And then, lo and behold, they even managed to get another goal at the end through an assist by De Gea. Who I thought he was shit to the ball at his feet, United said. He's got an assist.
He's got an assist under his belt. I mean, this Fiorentina side is extremely exciting, and the reasons that the most exciting aspects of this Fiorentina team from last season aren't even being talked about this season in Coyote and Parisi.
Oh, true.
Because Coyote and Parisi, everyone was going on about them last season. They are very exciting talents, particularly, in my opinion, Coyote, who I think is brilliant. Nowadays, there's just so much going on over here, and everyone's playing so well that where do you even begin? Adli's hit the ground running over there. Keane looks better than ever. Colpani is one that's struggling a bit, of course, but not everyone can hit the ground running. Bove is doing really well. Comuzzo, incredible season as well. Yes, and this is against the Hellas Verona, who are difficult to play against, man. They're well drilled, and this scoreline's a little bit misleading because they have a goal from a counter-attack at the end, and it was tightly contested for the vast majority of the game. Verona were never out until the very end. Yeah, very good game.
Yeah, exciting game as well. This is what you get in Serie A, right? The Hellas Veronas of the world also put up a fight. It was a nice game for the spectators.
Absolutely, bro. And in fact, Fiorentina are actually up there. They're in third place with 25 points. While Hellas Verona are in 14th place with 12 points. The relegation race is something that we something that we haven't really discussed this episode. That's tight as well, because usually by Christmas there's always a team that's cut off. This time we've got two teams at the bottom with 8 points in Monza and Venezia. Lecce have 9 points. And then you've got Genoa, Cagliari and Como with 10 points. And then Verona and Parma with 12 points. So anything can happen. Anything can happen from the top, at the top or at the bottom of the league. Yes, very difficult to predict. And I think that if I had to make my predictions again, I know we made them a few episodes
ago.
You're
going to make your predictions again?
No. But I think I would focus solely. I would focus on. It's so tight that I think the manager will make all the difference. So true. I think literally like.
Di Francesco.
Like I rate Gilardino higher than Zanetti, for example. You know what I mean? So I might change my prediction there. Next week we'll be taking your questions in that episode. So do ask us about that, and we'll talk about it more next week.
100%. Let's speed things up a little bit because we've got 15 minutes left. We've got Monza 0, Lazio 1. Lazio used a 4-3-3 setup with Castrovilli as the only absentee due to injury. Tavares returned from suspension. Monza also had key absentees including Sensi, Cranio and Gagliardini. Their coach, Lazio legend Alessandro Nesta, fielded a defensive 3-4-2-1 formation aimed at containment. However, they didn't manage to. They started with Turati in goal and a back line of Carboni, Mari and Izzo. Kyriakopoulos on the left, Pereira on the right, and double pivot of Bianco and Bondo, with Maldini and Mota flanking Juric. For Baroni's men, same old, 4-3-3 formation. Actually, not really same old, right? He tends to shift between a 4-4-2 and a 4-3-3, but a 4-3-3 formation
at the back
this
well.
time.
He's often changing things up.
Provedel in goal, a backline of Marsic, Hila, Romagnoli and Tavares. Guendouzi, Rovella and Vecino in midfield with Pedro and Zaccagni flanking Boulaye Dia. There were some early chances for Monza. Dani Mota and Daniel Maldini each had a chance within the first few minutes, but neither could convert. Dia and Tavares forced save from Monza's goalkeeper Turati as Lazio began to apply pressure, and in fact they found a goal in the 36th minute. After hitting the post minutes earlier, Zaccagni curled a right-footed shot into the bottom corner, giving Lazio the lead after being set up by Guendouzi. Mota attempted a bicycle kick later on, but Monza struggled to truly trouble Lazio's goalkeeper Ivan Provedel. Castellanos had 2 opportunities in the closing minutes to double the lead, but Turati made a key save to keep the score at 1-0, and we saw Tati struggle a little bit when he came on as well. A little bit dry.
A little bit cocky when it comes to the finishing, I think.
Overconfident?
I don't know. I think he tries to make his finishing look spectacular, maybe. I don't know, man. But what was that? He tried to put it under the keeper's legs. He shot directly at him. Put it in. You're 1-0 up. Like. What are you doing? Yeah. Castellanos, he's had a fantastic season so far, but he does waste a few chances sometimes. I think he needs to focus more on pragmatic finishing than flashy finishing. I
think if you're going through a negative spell, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to pull off the magnificent. But to discuss Lazio a little bit, that is 10 wins in their last 11 matches across both Serie A and the Europa League, where they also lead their group, well, actually, the group. And they're in the mix this season at the top, doing much better than expected. In the episode in the build-up to this season, we're asked for our guarantees. I said my guarantee is that Lazio don't smell the Champions League. They get nowhere close to the Champions League, and I think even the Europa League. I said the best they'll do is conference. I thought that Baroni, as much as he deserved an upgrade after what he did at Hellas Verona last season, I thought was almost too much of an upgrade. I thought it was a bit insulting to Lazio. And even the players they brought in, I thought was too much of an upgrade for them. You know, I mean, who were they? The players again.
Boulayedia, Noslin, Ciao.
There you go.
Nuno Tavares.
Exactly. Nuno Tavares was always going to be a great signing. But they're really they're doing much. True. They're doing much better than expected. Much better than expected. And they are flying, bro. They're so good. They're so good.
Just like you have Fiorentina, who are a team of rebeldes with a point to prove, right? They're like a team of rejects and players on the come up and things like that. This Lazio team is very similar, bro. You've got these guys. Diaz coming away from a very dramatic situation at Salernitana where he was constantly being booed. You've got Castellanos is still trying to kind of make a name for himself, and now he's been called up by the Argentina national team, for example. Pedro is a player who just wants to prove that he can still do it, essentially. Because I admire him so much, because at this point he's won everything, and he's played at such high levels, and he still gives his all, man. And he's still so hungry, and football means so much to him still. I think that I'm happy we get to enjoy him, man, basically, because he is pure. He loves football, and you can see it. You can see it.
Yeah, and he's so good at football, bro.
He's so good at football.
He's so good at it. Because he really doesn't look like a footballer anymore.
Well, nowadays he looks like
a little bit stout, but his technique
like a chef or something.
His technique and his football brain is immense. So good that I think we'll see him retire at the top. I think maybe when he does decide to hang his boots up, it could very much be at Lazio.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is he now?
Now he's 37. He left Barca in 2015.
My God.
Yeah, then he went to Chelsea, Roma, and now Lazio.
Maybe an Inter Miami move. Could be
join the boys.
The boys. Busquets, Messi, Suarez.
Why not? But this Lazio team is super to watch. And you look at Romagnoli, who's had now I think 3 good games in a row after a shaky start.
Romagnoli.
And you start to wonder, like, this is one of the guys Milan let go for free, while their centre backs are.
He had a good game, but
he had a poor start, but in the past 3, I think he's been impressive.
He has been better in the past few games. He has been better. But if you don't perform for 7-8 games and then you perform for 3, sure, it's a good trajectory. But before I make a claim,
sure.
I'd like to give it some more time. But a better performance from him.
It definitely costs something.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Especially after he lifted the league for Milan.
What do you think of this take? Daniel Maldini makes Monza worse. Monza's only league victory came when Maldini wasn't there.
Coincidence?
I think his performances have been a mixed bag completely. Sometimes he shows flashes where you say that was really nice, or wow, how unlucky he should have scored there. And then every single game he has a moment where you say he should have done much better. Every game he's got.
Yeah, the big miss against Milan, for example. No. You're right. He has those moments, and I think he had a poor performance in this game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But Monza as a team, look at the players that they're fielding, right? They don't have a lot of attacking threat. Maldini's that guy that creates something. He creates something. They don't have anyone else that can do that like him and Mota do. They have no one else that can take on a player.
Into it slowly.
Perhaps take on a player, have a crack from distance. You know what I mean?
Or Vignato.
It's unfair to Maldini's their best player, not their.
He makes
Mota.
things happen. That's the thing. It's been a shame that he's been so clumsy lately. Because he does have flashes of
He also randomly got super overrated. Like he got called up to the Nazionale and all that. It's all this hype. I thought he's not much better than he was last season and the season before. But he's getting more time to show what he's capable of doing. Why is everyone going? Inter want him, Milan are going, what the hell did we let go? And now suddenly he was so overrated for the first 10 games of the season that now they're like, oh my god, he's actually making money. He's so good, he's making them worse. And that's the whole
football narrative.
Oh my god, terrible. Relax. The guy's getting better. Literally, he's improving.
He's 23. His third year, I think, playing in Serie A.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, he's Monza's best player as well. He literally is. He's one of the few players that can create something out of nothing. And you look at, how many games did they draw because of him? And then, how many of those games did they draw because of him? They won one game without him.
Yeah, it's true. I think he's being scapegoated, unfortunately. But this was a very good performance by Monza. Take nothing away from them once again. Nesta really showing promising things. This is a very tough Lazio side. Fabregas said this Lazio side is the most difficult team I faced this year.
Madonna.
So
good performance by Monza. They took the game to Lazio. They missed chances. Turati was excellent. I think Lazio could have won the game by a bit more. But Turati was excellent. He had 4 fantastic saves. But it's time to start getting results. Monza need a spell of games. Can you actually pull up their fixture list, please, bro?
Yes, sir.
So we could see if they're going to get some bloody alla wins now.
Next up, Torino. Good game to take on in their moment right now. After that, Como.
Okay.
After that, Coppa Italia against Bologna. Okay, we ignore that. Then Udinese, Lecce. And then Juve, and then Parma, and then Cagliari. Dude, now is the time.
Now is the time.
Now that you've got Lazio out of the way, the demons of the league right now it's time to get some points.
Exactly. Yes. They are currently in 19th.
Yikes.
In 19th on 8 points, level with last place Venezia. Lazio, on the other hand, in 5th, but level on points with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yes. So let's talk about Venezia Parma. Parma beat Venezia 2-1. Parma's lineup was Suzuki in goal with Valeri, Del Prato. One moment.
No worries, you blind fuck.
Yes, sir. Leoni and Hainut at the back, with Som and Keita playing in that midfield double pivot. Keita getting some minutes. Benedicak on the left, nice to see him back from injury. Mahala on the right, and Dennis Mann playing behind Cancelleri. For Venezia, it was Stankovic in goal with a back three of Candela, Svoboda, and Itzes. Ellertson was on the right, Haps was on the left, with Nicolucci and Duncan in the middle, and Oristano and Buzio playing behind Poyampalo.
Poyampum.
So Caviglia scored the first goal for Venezia, volleying in after Oristanio's great run as well. Oristanio had a really good run there, with nice movement, very shifty.
Oh, but when the ball's in the air like that and you manage to control, chest it forward to your fucking leg and then hit it on the volley like that, amazing.
It really is.
Someone please get on TikTok and show me that goal in slow motion. With like some
smooth
French music in the back, like French jazz, where you hear the wood in the fireplace crackling in the background, you know? That's the kind of edit I want to see.
And then Valeri equalized with a wonder goal later on in the first half. Powerful strike from way out. Payampalos scored, and it was ruled out due to an offside decision that came in the 62nd minute. And then in the 68th minute, Ange Boni tapped in a rebound from Dennis Mann, securing Parma's lead. This was a swift counter-attack, actually, as Venezia came really close to scoring on the other end when Haps managed to pick out Oristanio. Really luckily, Oristanio was surprised that he even managed to pick him out, and he miscontrolled it right in front of the keeper. Chaos ensued. There was another shot from someone else straight into the keeper, and then the counter-attack was launched, and they scored right from that. I think Venezia struggled to respond to Parma and then giving them the first win in 2 months. I think Stankovic could have been better on both goals, to be fair.
Agree.
We were harsh on the other goalkeeper. We can be harsh
Yeah.
on Stankovic. The other one's Jorinen, right?
Yeah, Jorinen.
Yeah. To pick out individual errors, because games like this usually go down to details, right? These 6-pointers. So Svoboda lost Boni on the winner. Even though Svoboda had a very good game, that was, soft goalkeeping from the keeper, sure, but you lost your man.
That's true.
And Hainut was guilty for conceding the first goal.
That's the thing with Venezia, right? Because in my opinion, they were better than Parma.
They were better. They dominated this game.
I thought they were better than Parma. But that's the thing, no? Defensive individual errors by them, and bless Di Francesco, because he's actually shown a lot more care to the way that his team is defending, attention to detail to defending this season.
True.
But it seems like the individuals just make a few errors here and there.
It's true. And these were his words, actually, because a loss like this puts a spotlight on the manager. We didn't capitalize on our dominance of the game. We had to make better use of the opportunities created. In the last 10 meters, we must be more incisive, both in the crosses and in the conclusions towards the goal. Of course, for me here, he's talking about Haps as well, because Haps really panics when he gets in the final third. We conceded the second goal for our mistake from a close position, and even if we had the time to try to recover, we were not qualitative enough. We rushed too much in the crosses and in trying to bring the ball into the area. Too bad for the defeat, especially considering that we only conceded those 2 shots on goal that became goals. We have to be more determined and aggressive under the net, because when you dominate like that, you have to concretize. And Serie A in this respect does not forgive you. Now it's time to make points. Right now they are fundamental. So it's a call to arms for Di Francesco. I'm surprised by how well Venezia play. It's true. They're very fluid in that sense. They're good at attacking. They're good at taking control of the game. And that's, I guess, the style that Di Francesco tends to go for. But it's funny how just the torch has been passed, right? Because Parma were the ones that were in serious trouble, blaming their manager, and there was this whole chaos, so on and so forth. So they've literally shifted now the pressure onto Venezia with this win, and a very important win for Parma, and a huge win for Parma, because defensively it's where they've always struggled. But they coped with Venezia's dominance throughout the game. They conceded that early goal, and they managed to actually get back into it. They actually had a point of dominance in the first half. They had a long stretch in the first half where it looked like where it definitely looked like they were going to score, and they managed to get that goal. In the second half, at no point did I think Parma were capable of getting a goal, but they got one to win the game. It's like they thought, look, we're playing Venezia. If we don't beat them, we're getting relegated. We have to start winning games. And they went out and they got the victory nonetheless. And they got booed to oblivion last game. So that might have motivated them. And weird, 33% ball possession and 3 shots on target, and they take home 3 points. Cancelleri punta. Yes.
Cancelleri punta, Boni on the bench.
But you know what that allows you to do? To bring on Charpentier and Boni when everyone's tired. So again, these games, you need to introduce quality later on. Look at the starting players. He does rest some guys, leave some guys out to introduce later on.
That's true.
And it's very intelligent. I mean, you start with your best players and you worsen and your opponent gets better. This is the Lovumbo thing,
exactly.
Ranieri's Lovumbosito approach.
Boni, if I'm not mistaken, this is his 4th goal of the season.
Boni, let's take a look.
I believe it's his 4th goal.
Something like that, though. He's scored quite a few.
And we also see this guy drop deeper. We see him drop super deep.
And he links up really well with his teammates as well. Statistics, we've got 11 starts, 4 goals, yes, precisely, and 1 assist.
For Parma.
Yeah. He's doing well. He's doing really well.
Very well then.
As for the standings, do you happen to have them?
Yes, I do have them. Parma. Oh, wow, okay. They've gone up to 13th now on 12 points. Level on points with 14th place Hellas Verona. Whilst on the other hand, where are you? Venezia are in last place on 8 points. Level on points with 19th place.
That's where they are.
Monza. That's exactly where they are, at the very bottom. Last game.
No, it's not.
It's not the last game? We're well over time.
Shall we not read out the lineups?
Well, let's continue to speed it up a little bit. Genoa 1, Como 1. Genoa came in after a morale-boosting 1-0 win over Parma. Parma
Mosta.
Vitinha, Messias, Malinowski, Gollini, Ankea and Norton Coffey were sidelined. Como were without Sergio Roberto, Perrone, Mazzitelli, Van der Bremt, Gabrielloni and Baselli. Both teams were feeling the pressure, particularly Como, who had lost 4 of their last 5 Serie A matches. Genoa started in a 3-5-2 formation, Leali in goal, backline of Maturo, Vasquez and Vogliacco, Martin out on the left, Sabelli on the right, midfield trio of Frendrup, Badel and Torsby with Pinamonti and Ekator starting up front together. Fabregas' men started in a 4-2-3-1 formation, Reina in goal, backline of Goldaniga, Dossena, Kempf and Moreno. Engelhard and Da Cunha started in double pivot with Strefezza on the right, Fadera on the left and Nico Paz playing behind Cutrone. Como opened the scoring in the 17th minute as Nico Paz won possession from Pinamonti and set up Lucas Da Cunha, who scored with a left-footed shot from outside the area, giving Como the lead. And that's his first goal in Serie A. That's the other goal.
That's the other one. Goal in Serie A,
Da Cunha, of course. Como almost doubled the lead as Paz fed Fadera, whose powerful shot was saved well by Genoa's keeper Nicola Leali, who has been excellent since he started in place of Gollini. Genoa's Pinamonti and Ekator combined in a counter-attack, with Reina stopping Ekator's attempt in a crucial one-on-one. Then the second half, Paz assisted Cutrone brilliantly, but the goal was ruled out for offside by VAR. There are some late chances for Genoa. Balotelli obviously came on and got a yellow card. Another harsh yellow card, to be fair, relax. And the 93rd minute, Genoa found their equaliser in stoppage time as Miretti's corner was flicked on by Pinamonti and Vogliacco converted from close range to secure a dramatic draw for Genoa. Once again, at the death, Como had 8 shots on target, coming especially through Nico Paz and Da Cunha. 7 of these were saved by Leali. However, their failure to convert these opportunities cost them significantly. This is a recurring theme for Como, who are now winless in 6, where they have 4 losses and 2 draws. It is literally because they create. They create a lot. And I want to shout out, because we're often going crazy about Paz, and rightly so. But Da Cunha, who actually got a goal over here, the goal tops off some really good form that he's on. He's very good. He's very young. He's 23 years old, I believe, French. He's playing, I believe this is the first time he's playing proper top flight football. He had scored a hat-trick in the under-19 French Cup. The under-19 French Cup. He had scored a hat-trick in the final for his team to win. That's the only thing I pretty much know about this guy.
I also enjoy this Fadera.
Fadera is good. He's good. But Como, bro. Literally, they take control, they create chances. There was absolutely no way they should have dropped points in this game.
But then you look at the way Gilardino approached the second half. Look at this heat map over here.
Central.
Crowd the middle.
Crowd
the middle. You know what, Como? Fuck your triangle.
Fuck your triangle.
Fuck
bro.
your passages of play. Good luck. Good luck. You know what, man? One of our most advanced players is a 2 with Thorsby. We've got Aaron Martin in your half constantly, like you know, the central, tight. It's... I like the way Gilardino adapts to games, and quite often when I'm watching Genoa, I'm seeing something new, which is a really good sign.
They get better as the game progresses, man. And that is because Gilardino has really good in-game management. That's his strong point. And we all know about Genoa's injury woes, which makes it even more impressive that they're capable of doing that. But to be fair, Como miss players like Sergio Roberto and Mazzitelli, who are known for stabilizing the team in midfield and controlling the midfield. So that's obviously set them back quite a bit as well.
It's true. And also, the passion that Vogliacco showed when he scored that goal.
Vogliacco, the entire
team, every day.
Crazy, bro. We have to go with Genoa. Like, it's crazy.
I love that stadium. I love that team, to be honest. They're when things are going well for them, it's a shame, because I think the most recent time we saw them in Serie A was a really bad representation of who they were. Yes, that was towards the end, and they looked like the mood was improving because they really believed in Blessing at the time. But that season, the way it started, you know, I'll never forget. They got destroyed in the first game. I believe it was like 4-0 or something. It was horrible. They were out before the season even started. And then bankruptcy. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. But it's clear to me that Gilardino's doing a good job with his team. He's utilizing them to their best abilities, and clearly now he's focusing on set pieces, because it's not the first time they've caused problems over there. When you have such a lack of creativity in the team, that's where you win the games. That's where you get the points.
That's it. Because look at this team. You don't have anyone who's going to take on a man and play a Reinders-esque pass over the top. Yeah. In fact,
Messias injured, Malinovsky injured.
Yeah, they have 18-year-old Jeff Ekator, and they're relying on his energy.
To be fair,
good, yes. And then they're relying on the likes of Aaron Martin's overloads on the left-hand side, and Thorsby to create things. And it's interesting to see Thorsby wearing the number 2, trying to make things happen up front. It's very entertaining.
Well, they are in 17th place, narrowly escaping relegation. They're 1 point above Lecce, who are in 18th place. Genoa have 10 points. And on the other hand, Como are in 15th place, also on 10 points.
Lecce drew to Empoli 1-1 in what we call, essentially, you could call this a biscotto. That's what they would call it when you share the spoils, no? However, it was clear to me that what's that, bro? It was clear to me and clear to everyone watching, to be honest, that Lecce wanted to win this fucking desperately, because at the end they got so close, they hit the post twice, right? Yes, so let's start off with Lecce's lineup. They had Falcone in goal in their 4-5-1 formation this time, with Guilbert, Gaspar, Baschirotto and Gallo at the back, Dorgu on the right, Banda on the left, with Udon, Ramadani and Raffia playing as the midfield 3, and Kristovic up front alone. 3-1-4-2 for Empoli. This was a
damn.
Vasquez was in goal with Viti, Ismaili and Goglio Cheesy at the back. Haas was playing as the regista, with Kakache and Jazi out on the flanks, Male and Henderson playing in the middle, also just ahead of Haas, with Pellegrini and Colombo starting up front together. Of course, here they're taking advantage of Pellegrini's good form, because he scored a goal and played really well last game. And in fact, it only took until the 33rd minute for Pellegrini to score. And it was a very good goal, to be honest. A powerful shot into the bottom left corner. That's 2-2, and a very interesting celebration. You said the
Gyökeres celebration. He's notorious for doing this at the moment. It's like a mosque celebration. It's really, really sick.
I think it's really lame.
You think it's no? Watch Gyökeres cold compilations. You'll change your mind immediately.
Pellegrini makes me think it's lame, personally. He doesn't gas me up, you know.
Gyökeres gasses me the fuck up, bro.
Yeah. In the 56th minute, Kakache nearly doubled Empoli's lead, hitting the post. In the 77th minute, Pierotti equalized for Lecce with a well-placed header following Gallo's cross. And late in the game, Sansone hit the woodwork from a free kick, and Kristovic's header struck the crossbar. Kristovic takes so many shots every game.
Literally, bro.
I believe he was leading the shot statistics.
It's a good thing. It is a good thing. It's a bad thing when you look at how many of those should have been passes.
Yes, that's it.
That's the problem. But for a small team like this, to have someone that has grachts and has grachts and has grachts, it's super important.
It's true. So both teams temporarily moved up in the standings after this game. I was really impressed by Sansone, who was a good impact sub, but I think we should move on to... I mean, Empoli afford to draw these games at this point. You know,
afford is a strong word.
But they would go home and they'd be like, thank God none of those late chances went in.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
It's
not devastating to drop points because they've beaten some good teams. Although it's still quite early, so they do need to be very careful, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think we could just jump straight to Gianpaolo and talk about him because he's going to inherit this Lecce team, and to be honest, I'm a little bit excited. Now, this is super risky in my opinion. Why? Because you've got a manager who plays a very unique system. A 4-3-1-2 system with a trequartista, no wide men, and it's very different to what Lecce have been doing over the years. So there's going to be a learning period. Do you afford there to be a learning period? Not really. So the players, you're counting on the players understanding what the coach wants from them immediately. Now,
does he not play a 4-2-3-1 also?
No, it was always a 4-3-1-2.
You're right.
With the trequartista and the three midfielders. I think the team has what it takes to play this, in theory always. Because they've got Rebic, who was signed to be deployed as a striker. That was the sporting director's vision. So putting Kristovic and Rebic up front together could technically work. I mean, you've got the kind of Defrel Quagliarella, no? You've got the finisher and Kristovic, and you've got the guy who's going to try to create things through runs.
Who's the Rebic. 10? Is it Udan or Dorgu?
It's none of them. It's Marjvinsky.
Marjvinsky.
I'm not sure. I'm probably butchering his name. But this guy was brought in by Lecce and hasn't played a single game. Well, he came on, he had a few cameos, but he hasn't been deployed as much at all. But this guy, Gianpaolo, wanted him specifically when he was at Torino.
Oh, wow.
Marjvinsky, he requested him specifically. He's a physical 10. His movement is very good. He's not flashy, but he knows how to take advantage of space and score these clutch goals from coming inside. Yeah. I think Dorgu will have to return to fullback.
What a shame, though.
Shame. He
literally, he's their guy.
Yes.
He's their most dangerous player.
But we'll see. Maybe, he'll play a midfielder like Ramadan. You can cut it, you can drop back. Because even the midfield three, it's not bad. You've got Ramadani and Rafia, who are very solid. And Udon, I guess, who can also play kind of as a mezzala.
Udon can fill that role as well. So can Dorgu. I prefer Dorgu Aido. But also in a 4-3-1-2 formation, what you see is the involvement of the right back and left back. It's by no means a flat for at the back system. So I guess Dorgu can still threaten down that side. Or he can fit somewhere into midfield.
Yeah. I was doing a bit of my cat is destroying my chair. Hey, Freddy. Come on.
Enough.
That's it, bro. So Quagliarella, I looked up what Quagliarella said about him because he gave Quagliarella his best ever season, 36 years old, scoring 26 goals and beating Ronaldo to the Capocannoniere. Quagliarella said that he's spoken to Gianpaolo about 5 or 6 times. And he had to initiate every time.
Oh my God.
Gianpaolo never went up to him. And then whenever he talked to him, Gianpaolo told him that everything was perfect.
Good.
So he's very reserved. He's not a very hands-on, he's not going to go in and be like, we're going to take this. It's not going to be like that. He's a very...
Do you think...
reserved manager, let's say.
Do you think... do you think Lecce need that now? Do you think they need someone like a Ballardini that's going to scream at them and freak them out from now? Because you said, do they have time for the learning period? I mean, so long as they adapt well and they have the players to be able to carry out the system, I think it's a good move. Contrary to what I said about Roma, who just needs someone to steady the ship because they don't fear relegation kind of thing. You know what I mean?
It's true. No, you're right. But then, however... It's never going to be a good time for them to take on a project manager. Because they're always in danger of relegation. They're one of the poorest teams in the league, essentially. They've got the lowest wage bill. So they're bringing in a manager who at Sampdoria was doing very good things. You know, he plays a high line. His defense is compact, but the line is high. He encourages short, quick passing in tight triangles in the middle. Pass and move to create new channels. And this, to be honest, this type of system could struggle against both teams that press you and against the low block if the players don't get it.
It's true.
So we'll see what happens. It's high risk, but in my opinion, it's exciting. Because we haven't seen a manager that plays this offensive brand for Lecce at Lecce for a long time. Yes.
It's true. And hopefully he brings that and he doesn't just drop it to being a super pragmatic style, because I haven't seen Gianpaolo coach in a while. I think since when was the last time we saw Gianpaolo coach in Italy?
Probably Torino. Probably. Torino. Let me check.
Could very much be. So I'm hoping that it's still the same style, still the same system, because it had really, really worked at Sampdoria. It was really, really interesting. So I just hope they don't end up being a boring defensive team like they have been for the past few seasons.
Yeah, they won't be, because it's against his philosophy, right? He was most recently reappointed at Sampdoria.
Yes.
2022.
The season they got relegated.
Yeah. Because after Milan, I think his confidence took a hit. Gianpaolo maybe, because his spell at Torino wasn't good, his spell at Sampdoria wasn't good, and now we'll see. Lecce had a 2-year break, so maybe he's done a bit of therapy, and we'll see if he comes with a new approach. We'll see. But it's interesting. He was a good, exciting manager back in the day, Gianpaolo.
I agree. Excited as ever to watch the 2 new managers back in Serie A after this boring Nations League shit comes to an end.
Hopefully they do well enough to make the wall behind us.
Exactly.
Check us out on YouTube.
Thank you very much, guys, for listening to this episode. We will be back next week. We'll be posting more about a question segment that we'll be doing. Start sending us your questions from now, because we actually want time to prepare for them.
Yeah, keep your eye on our Instagram stories and on Twitter. Twitter is where we usually take the bulk of our questions.
Exactly. So text us wherever the fuck you want. We'll see it, and we'll see you all next week. We'll probably record around Wednesday because Malta play on Tuesday, and we're going to be at the stadium. See you all next week. Love you all and enjoy the Nations League.
Ciao,
ciao, guys. Ciao.
Thank you.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
The football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.